Here we are at Miniature Market again over here in Cave Springs. We bring you another live action report of Warhammer 40k. We've got Rich and his Necrons against Michael Rose and his Ultramarines. Maybe the boys in blue will get the plot armor in this one. We may not know. Going ahead, you can see our top down for the terrain. It's been player placed, touched a little bit, and talked about as well. Like we said, this is a fluff league, so we're not trying to make, death holes for people. It's an open ground. Make sure there's plenty of cover to tag in if need be. Speaking of Miniature Market, we would like to have you like and subscribe. Make sure you use that bit link in the description. Find out anything you need, you can get it from miniaturemarket.com. We ship internationally from the St. Louis area, with 2 locations in Manchester, St. Louis, as well as Cave Springs. Find us anywhere you go. Start off with our dice roll off here. Looks like Michael wins the first roll off here. He's going to deploy. Before we do that, though, I think we want to take a quick look at the armies. Like we said, we've got Ultramarines, and then we also have Necrons. I think first things first we'll see is Michael placing down his very well done Ultramarines. I had a chance to sit down and talk with both contestants actually before the game started. Michael actually started this hobby as a painter, got into it, lore and all the other fun things that gets a lot of in here. So he really started taking it seriously when he started painting more as well. Michael has some pretty good chaos armies we've always seen with a lot of freehand done on banners and portals, and you'll sit there and just go, wow, all right. And you look at your stuff and you go, wow, all right. So Michael's one of those guys. Also one of the nicest players you'll meet here. On the opposite side, we do have Rich, which is our resident Necron player. He also plays a very nice Space Lions. Yes, Space Lions, not Space Wolves. A very nice kit converted Space Wolves with Lions, because our man right here is a diehard Detroit fan. And while they're setting up their armies, we'll talk about what's going on for this week. A primitive narratives fought valiantly to protect the sacred idol. Whenever their forces were paltry when crushed by 2 superior forces, with the information gained from the idol, you are one step closer to completing your weapon. Your advisors have informed you of the nature of the soul thread. With all that you have gathered, you've realized it is designed to use psychic energy to seal small tears and realities, and may be able to bind powerful entities back to their home realm for a time. However, power comes at a terrible cost. The thread requires the combined sacrifice of millions of sentient lives. However, the drawback may be powerful too. One could probably calibrate the weapons only to certain harvest species, though it need testing. You need to decide that it will stage a hasty testing ground for the weapon. However, your orders are intercepted and enemy forces are en route to stop the most important experiment. That is week 3, assemble the weapon for our fluffy / narrative league. As you can see, not everyone, no meta here. We would like to talk about the moment of valor from last week. We've got blades flashed and flesh was torn. The hordes of the foul god Slanesh descended on the relic like a ravenous beast. The Eldar was simply outmatched, however, hope still flies. Marching forth from the battle lines in one last act of defiance against the god of excess, the Exarch drew his blade and charged headlong into the fray. Like lightning he fell upon the demon hordes, like water he danced from foe to foe, and like a stone did he fall. It was a magnificent sight to behold, and his exploits will be echoed forever in the halls of his ancestors. That is 1 extra point to Hayden and Nick. That was a different game, correct. And moment of valors are done. A little explanation are a moment in time across any of the games during the week that people play, and it allows for them to get +1 points. So it's just an additional way for alliances to gain points and things like that. People can submit them. Some of them are very well worded, as you can tell by this one, which is with Chandler, who is also another one of fellow commentators. Goes through and reads them all and pulls out the best ones you have. So on top of having a memorable moment in 40k, which we all love, whether it's character hammer, or just somebody rolls, a million 6-up feel no pains, or a custodian has 25 2-up saves, makes all of them, doesn't drop a single one. It's just a good way to see that valued. Speaking of Chandler, I do have to give a shout out to him. He is the one that is, first off, in charge of doing the narrative side of this league. He loves it. He loves it all. He's very creative. Must be the theater in him. But we would like to say thank you for all his hard work and dedication in putting these stories together, choosing the missions every week for everybody, and making sure that everybody is brought along in the spirit of the league. Like I said, this is more of a fluff, more of a fun. We're just here to roll dice. We're going to get me and not talk for a couple of minutes here, and we'll just see what they're going to be doing on the board. I believe they are doing their objectives first, followed by deployment, so I'll give you back here in about a minute or two.
Here we go.
And gets an extra armor and cover.
So it'd be almost good if he was like, if he could do anything. He could do anything with it.
He just needs to stay with him.
Something I was going to say and I already forgot it.
What's that?
I was going to say something and I immediately forgot.
I hate it when that happens.
Command points. So we start with 6 normally, right?
Yes.
And then Chandler said we can take a warlord trait and a relic for free.
Without paying for
Okay,
it.
you did that?
Yep.
Okay, cool. Good. I also did, so I get +3 for having Gilliman, and then I spent 1, so I've got 8 command points to start. Okay. So I'm just going to plot this attack biker down right here.
It's true, actually. Now that you don't have AOC, you're losing.
Nice, I'm scared.
Okay. I'm not sure.
Yeah, just hiding right back there.
Okay.
I have a strat as long as the Terminator's on the objective, I functionally get AOC back. Oh, nice. Yeah. I have.
Yeah, but I need just to make it fun.
I'm not going to get there.
We're not playing right now.
If you want to just cut out a piece of cardboard and say it's your knocked ground.
Wait, are we just missing terrain?
What? Oh, we all have different colors.
Oh, yeah.
Terrain's all
I thought one of our group was playing. Two of our
We are playing, but we were supposed to play last week. And I was taking a lot of
Well, I'd like to welcome you back. Well, you guys stayed. I did not. I had to go get myself a little glass of water. I'm feeling a little parched. So first things first, we've got a couple of warriors already placed down over here on this side for Rich. And hidden back there in the corner of the screen, we've got the bikes with multi-meltas on them, I've been informed. A fast option, a deadly option, and more than likely, hopefully get within that half range at extra +2 if need be.
So these are my warriors. They've got 12-inch gun, strength 5, -2.
How many shots were they actually?
How many what?
Shots?
Shots? Just one.
Just one. Okay.
Well, no, it's 2. 2 and 12-inch.
And Rich going over his stat line there for his warriors real fast. I think it's a very good thing to do, especially if you don't know what your army you're playing against. As somebody who's pretty new to this game as well, I think that this shows a very nice part of this league, and also playing with the community here at Miniature Market. Is almost everybody, I say almost everybody is nice. If you have questions about armies, units, even if you're not playing that day, you want to come in and watch, people are more than willing to let you sit down, watch, talk shop, talk painting, talk playing, talk competitive. Everybody, it has a little bit. Talk lore. You can sit down at a table and talk for a couple hours about lore if you wanted. But going back to what Rich did here, making sure those guns are short range, but being at S5, it's going to be a little bit harder for Space Marines to make the saves. And right across from actually that S5 strength unit with the short range, Mike has elected to put down the Blade Guard veterans. Blade Guard veterans with a natural 2-up save, thanks to the Storm Shield, and a 4-up invuln. Might be a pretty good option there to eat those extra strength 5 shots. And again, it's only 1 shot per man Necron in that unit. Blade Guard veterans, just by within themselves are a good unit. You can throw them in a pulsar, put 5 of them in there, maybe give them a lieutenant, a chaplain, something else in there. Get them off the board 14 inches early on, get them out, get them ready to charge and be a beat stick. Their power swords are very nice. I believe it's a flat 2 damage. I want to say -3, -2. And they do have those fun Primaris 3 wounds, even though they are not in Gravis armor. Michael's very nice enough to give me the correct information on that one.
People who actually want their team to do well.
As I've played Michael many a times, this is the least crawly of his armies I've ever seen put on the board. As a resident Tyranid player, we've had many a good game. And like we had talked about beforehand, Mike does have a number of armies. We've got both these players play a number of armies. I believe Mike told me he didn't want to tell me initially how many he played. He paints them all, I believe. Sisters has been a recent love of his. And like we said, Rich plays both Necrons and Space Lions. So it'd be kind of nice with Space Marine knowledge coming from one end, and Mike was like, I don't know, maybe Necrons. And if there's any of these models that you enjoy, tabletop terrain, even the mats, go ahead and get them here at Manchester. Miniature Market, either off Manchester or Cave Springs. Please like and subscribe, and you can use the bit.ly link in the description. If Warhammer isn't your thing, we also have Legion, a million other board games, Crisis Protocol, Magic the Gathering, and Pokemon. Every week, every night's a different thing here. It's jam-packed on Monday nights for D&D too, so if you're looking for a group, sometimes there's openings available, and almost every single table in this place is filled up for that. So any sort of your flavor, Miniature Market has it. We do ship internationally from St. Louis.
What's your chat?
No box? No.
There's the extra AP.
They get,
So far, we're looking at an interesting deployment. We've got the Warrior Blob in the center, and across of it, we do have a Predator. Sorry, not a Predator, with Blade Guard Vets, and I'm wondering how this Death Ball is going to look going against each other here. We do have that terrain in the center that breaks it up a little bit, but I'm worried how those Blade Guard Vets are going to get there if they need to be.
the Hungry Boy every turn. And I get both of them, which is, if I make a melee attack, I'm going to roll 6 and take 2+1. And then anytime that a unit makes a melee attack, was charged, or broke invincible in the state. And the other thing that it does is, flying charge, which is
There, another good sportsman by Rich here, just making sure that his opponent knows his rules so that there's no bad counter plays or unintentional plays that shouldn't have happened there. It's good talking between opponents, and you guys are probably wondering what we're doing today. We're going to be playing Supplies from Above is the mission. It's a crusade mission. So mission rule is players alternate placing 6 objective markers on the field one at a time, starting with the attacker. They can be anywhere 6 inches from an edge and 9 inches from any other marker. At the start of each battle round, one player rolls 2 dice as close to the center of the battlefield as possible. If it lands more than 12 inches from the center of the battlefield, roll again until it lands within 12. Draw a straight line between the 2 dice, from one of the lowest results to the one with the highest, and move each objective marker one at a time at D3 plus 3 in the direction of this arrow. Objective markers can be moved over models, objective markers, and terrain features, but they cannot end the move on top of models or objective markers, and they cannot leave the battlefield. If they would, reduce the distance they are moved by the minimum amount necessary. At the end of each player's command phase, player in turn, it is scores 10 victory points for each of the following conditions they have satisfied. They control 1 or more objectives, they control 2 or more objectives, and they control more objective markers than their opponent. Victor, there is a victor bonus for this, but because this is a crusade mission and we are not doing crusade points, it is not used right now. But going back to what we had said, we've got the Assault Intercessor squads now, free Thunderhammers for Space Marines, and we've got the first of Rich's big boys down. Seems like this fight in the center is going to be a little fast-paced. Again, with the moving objectives, it's going to be interesting. Speaking of fast-paced, we now have another multi-melta bike down. Getting a little bit of pre-measure, making sure that he's in cover. Never mind, he hit me with the old switcheroo. Speaking of switcheroo, Ultramarines do have a stratagem that allows them to redeploy up to 3 units. So, one of the hard things to play against any army that does this, whether it's a pregame move, which Necrons are also known for, or Votan's new scout bikes, which are the bane of everybody, or Sentinels from the Guard. Anything that has a pregame move or can redistribute itself, like some of the Phobos units can do that with psychic powers, etc. It's really hard to play against because you can set up one way, maybe you overload left flank, hoping for the best, and they switch everything to the right, and suddenly you're playing on a back foot. It's interesting to see here. I know the stratagem can be a little expensive sometimes, but we'll see what Mike does. Oh, the center looks like it's still going to be where the most fun is. We've got more Eradicators down. I believe it's just a 3-man squad, which even in themselves, 24-inch range, D6 damage, -4 flat. If he's not running the heavies, he's running the heavies, D6 +2 then, which is just a minimum of 3 damage per shot that goes through. Even with AOC Space Marines, we're not going to be happy with those numbers.
No, you can't, unfortunately you can't.
Procure my decoy badge.
Decide the battle card.
Evening on Thursday. And maybe
Well, the problem is that when you take chaos space marines, it actually turns off your
decoy badge.
the knights don't.
I'm all down if I take off all 4 days.
Mike's dropping some of his Rich is dropping some of his melee units here and these guys are tough, and these things you don't want anywhere near you at all. They can just stay over there discoing on those disco bases, Rich.
Those guys have 3 wounds apiece?
Yes.
And we have the recent losers of the points change for Space Marines, Plasma Inceptors. We were all so happy they were going to be viable, super fun. Then they got the points nerf right back up. Still a heavy hitting unit. Strength 7, -3, D3 shots per with 2 per model, so it's an insane amount of good damage shots. No overcharging though, unless you have a captain babysitting, or Lord Guilliman himself might be a little bit hard not to blow yourself up. As we saw, Rich also just put down his Warlord, his Score Pack Lord, right over there again with the melee, making him tough, giving him character protection as well. If you can't see the bright golden arc, you can't hear the hum in the air, the Lord Regen is down as well, Lord Gilliman, over there with the Vanguard Vets, and the Chaplain and Inceptors. So we're probably looking for a pretty fast push out of the center with a pretty nice Death Ball aura. Like we've been saying, this center looks spicy, looks like it's going to be where it's at.
Because they're actually really annoying to kill. They're basically like Custodies Terminator.
Second set of Vanguard Vets down within the bubble. Helping character protect that Chappie as well. Honestly, there's not much better guards out there except for the Victrix Guard, which I believe Mike has in his hands. Yep, of course he does.
Well, no, they got rid of the army right now. You can't do that.
I like these are better size.
Where is all the terrain?
Rich coming all the way out here to the flank to say hello to me real fast. Kind of just letting Mike know that he's not going to be all alone over on this side. This big piece of terrain here would be interesting. Get a couple units up on top, get all that extra cover and vantage too. Now with these assault intercessors over here, it's going to be a little melee on melee, so it'll be interesting to see who gets there first. This is going to be a hard counter punch for those who don't get it, and one of the saving graces of Mike is he does have that ability to fall back and shoot. Looks like we're getting ready here. We've only got 1 model left.
You ask what you want to call it, and if they say no, don't. I get that this is like,
I'll let you know at the beginning of each team what the total players are. And so for this one, it's going to be that students receive benefits like cover if they don't move, fall back advances.
There's one at the table anyway.
Just in case it goes.
Rich again, just making sure that his opponent knows how he's going to play. Again, we really appreciate that about him and about those who play here. It looks like we're going to be going ahead towards our roll-off to see who gets to go first. It's going to be big. There's a lot of things in cover. Seems fairly matched, though one side of the board definitely has a little bit more models than the rest. Even with Space Marines getting those horde almost kind of points, you can throw as many intercessory squads and things down. You wonder where you're going to send those last 5 points because we're no longer requesting so much gear. We'll give our players a second here. As we all know, we all have favorite dice, and we all have those we've banished. So we're just trying to sort that out real fast, win this all-important dice roll. Well, we're talking about dice. Miniature Market has a great selection of dice, as well as many other tabletop games, card games, Magic, Pokemon, D&D, all of the above. Anything you can ask for, we might have it. If we don't have it, it'll be online. You can find our online stock at that bit.ly link in the description. Again, like and subscribe for more Warhammer content. On top of that, we will be playing many other games throughout the week, including Legion, Armada, Sigmar, and many others. Swing by the store anytime. We've got one in Cave Springs as well as up in Manchester. What you're seeing right now is what I would consider probably the Death Ball or the Castle for Ultramarines right now. When we say Death, for those of you who are newer, Death Ball and Castle, Death Ball is something that's strong, powerful, and you know it's just going to snowball through your lines or shoot through your lines. The Castle is he's got enough overlaying buffs there to really help out what he needs. Rerolls, mantras, things like that. And for Space Marines, that's how a lot of them play, is through what we consider these Castles or Death Balls, where you want overlapping auras to help them out or not. Sometimes they're not great. And obviously one of the biggest counterplays to a lot of Space Marines is to get rid of that castle. Now, see how long you'll get through there is going to be hard. Like, we've got 6 Vanguard, keep saying Vanguard vets. You've got 6 Blade Guard veterans over here. Again, 2 up save, 3 wounds, Storm Shield, Mastercraft Power Swords, and I believe the Sergeants will have either Plasma or the Neokite pistols for free. Looks like they're getting ready to roll off, so I will throw you back over to the all-important first roll.
One of these is use 2 groups to
You rolled the exact same thing. Awesome. Looks like you're going first.
Looks like. Okay.
Rich with the big win here on the roll-off. Good handshake there. Now we'll get to see some fun.
Alright, these guys are going to advance.
So you're all
4 inches. Need walls in there, right?
something like that. Oh. I don't know. Yeah, they're all weird.
I got 3. I have plenty of power. I can run.
So would that mean I get to reload it?
It's like 10,000.
That's how I reload it.
We actually officially hit 10,000.
Rich's first move on the right-hand side, really trying to get him up front and within charge range, or at least to block out Mike here. If you can tell already just from the way he's moving, if he can get the rest of his guys close to that, or as far as those gentlemen are right there, he's going to have a hard time unclogging the board. Especially with Necron Revival Protocols, there's always a chance of bringing back what you kill. So if you don't kill it all the way, you might just be fighting it again next turn.
Okay, so I do have 2 options. Simon and Bob Army are now will let you take knights.
Can you advance your version anyway?
You don't want to play against knights.
No.
We just go January.
Mike over here, just for clarification of everyone, making sure that there's no advance and charge shenanigans going on, either through relics or powers or anything like that. And as a person who plays a shooting army, I'm always very appreciative of not having to see that. So I'm sure Mike is now taking a little bit deeper breath here, knowing that he is slightly safer. Necrons have always had one thing going for them. They have the bodies to control the board, and again, as we said, the durability to stay with it. Even though they might be 1 wound in some instances, the ability to bring them back is really detrimental, like we said, if you don't kill it all the way.
Do you not have anything to give your franchise actions?
What's that?
Do you have anything franchise buffs you need to give out?
Oh, no.
There's no will. No will.
I usually do, but this guy doesn't have it.
There should be one of each type in there.
As we continue moving through here, let's go through, for those of you who don't know already, there are certain phases for this game. It goes command, movement, psychic, shooting, charging, fighting, and then morale. As you progress through those stages is how you take your turn. So a full battle round is when both players take their turn. Again, the game goes 1 through 5 on turns, with Space Marines going through separate doctrines for each of these turns, although with the new Arcs of Omen change, which we are using here, you do not have to progress beyond doctrines you don't want to. So for an Iron Hands player, such as myself, I now have more than just one turn of Devastator Doctrine, which is fantastic. For Ultramarines and some others, you know, Assault and Tactical, or even sticking in Heavy until they feel like it's justified to move on. Space Wolves, Blood Angels, everybody in those last round 3 may not love it quite as much, and Death Watch are in a little bit of a weird place right now, given that they can choose their doctrine anyway, but it means they have to move on. TJ, one of our Regiment Death Watch players, has actually had me in Discord for a couple hours on end going back and forth about ways they could fix it, or just hopefully there'll be a patch out soon.
He's got some shooting. These guys gonna stay there, these guys gonna stay there. These guys will advance. 1 inch.
Supplies God bless the world.
Okay.
As far as
Needs to go.
and that's right, and this is by far our best
These are just how many ones they have, so I can keep track of it.
With rich movement so far across the board, starting to really kind of pick out what flank's going to be the first one hit. Now the objectives are where they are right now.
Strength 6.
But is he just baiting Mike in to get him with his both 18-inch guns from the Warriors, get that extra shooting in, can he fall back? And does he just want to poke some fun and go melee on melee?
0 AP, 1 damage. But each time his attack is made, an unmodified hit roll of 6 scores 2 additional hits.
I was wondering, he's not too much of a destroyer. I was worried.
Okay.
Rich just going through some of the rules of his big model here, just so Michael knows what's going on or what to target. And again, this speaks volumes to the community here at Miniature Market, where if you don't know something, ask, and people are more willing to tell you, talk, and let you know. Everybody's here just to have a fun game, hang out, roll dice, admire each other's paint jobs, things like that.
Oh,
Rich is actually a long-time player of 40K Tevis around in 5th and 6th edition, and then recently got back into it at the start of 9th edition, and has really been playing over the last 6 months or so to really gather himself and get himself back in with the edition. So between his Space Wolves, Lions, my fault, and Necrons, he's been playing very well, and we'd love to have him still.
I can only get it.
He doesn't like 2-up saves, right?
Let's see if I goes off on 3 up. Cool. So he's going to get these plastic sectors right here.
Leading over here to Mike's turn, we're starting off with the Chaplain and his mantras, all things that he would more than likely want to get put across to help buff himself. Looks like he's trying to put it on the Inceptors, not Intercessors. Fun fact, there are at least 10 units in the Primaris side that start with int, infiltrators, eliminator. Well, eliminator is an int, but you know what I mean. Intercessors, assault intercessors. Also, if you haven't noticed, these bikes with the multi-multis are actually conversions done by Mike himself, running a pretty cool sidecar. And now here both players remembering about hitting agendas, which are a separate objective, kind of like the Moment of Valor is. So it gives you +1 to, if you complete it, to your alliance, which you want. So your alliance can help win the overall. I believe there are 5 alliances done. The hitting objectives, the fun thing is you can only use 1 per the entire league. So you're given enough to cover every week. And you now need to choose one, and you can pick and choose about who your opponent's going to be. And you know, in my first game against Deathwatch, we both ended up choosing the same one unintentionally. We were both looking at the objectives and going, "Oh, let's kill, you know, NPCs." And there were 2 towers that were easily taken down by both of us. Unbeknownst to the other, there's been assassination, there's been bring it down, there's a couple others on there that are going to be very, very by opponent. For somebody who plays a lot of vehicles, you know, you might want to say bring it down to them. For assassinate, maybe you want to wait for somebody who brings a lot of characters to the game, somebody who runs death balls and a lot of ores, things like guard, or even space marines. Also with this league, if it's unknown to you, you might be like, wow, this game looks a little bit bigger than the other ones did. We are progressing by points value, so we'll spend 2 weeks at 1,000 points, 2 weeks at 1,500 points, and then 2 weeks at 2,000 points. So we'll be trying to bring the streams a little bit earlier to you every time, as we're all trying to get out of here and get that last run at Taco Bell at around 10 o'clock. If you think I'm joking, there's one right next door. And as always, our miniature market has everything you need for your wargaming needs. And if you're not a wargamer, we have more games than I know what to do with. I know about 4 names of the ones on the wall, but there's a board game club that plays in here. They have their own Facebook and Discord. On top of that, you've got Warhammer, Sigmar, Armada, Legion, X-Wing, a bunch of people that play during the week on their individual days. Again, if you're looking for anything, we ship it internationally from St. Louis, 2 locations, Manchester and Cave Springs. You can choose the bit.ly link in the description. Again, we would also really help us if you liked and subscribed and share this with your friends. Always here for your 40K needs, and we look forward to seeing you in the store.
Huh?
Did you need to mix one?
It's okay.
If you want to, we haven't done it. Do they have any heal saves?
Oh, okay.
So again, one of the things you see here is both players are talking to each other about what their units. This is always beneficial because you're not trying to give everybody a gotcha moment. You know, asking about invols, how much AP he's going to need, how many wounds. If he's running 1 wound bolters, maybe he'll need to put something a little bit spicier in there. That T5 is big against Space Marines because a lot of our weapons are strength 4, and we will then be wounding on 5s even if we do hit on 3s. Even with aura rerolls, it really cuts down our percentage on how many we're going to get through. Just what we had talked about earlier with some of the Necrons' weapons being strength 5 into T4 bodies.
Yeah, that's the same.
First tentative moves, I'd say tentative because they picked the Eradicator up and down about 4 times. Because the Eradicators are coming out of cover. Really, some of the very few anti-tank that Michael has brought with him. Again, with those heavies, though, and he is still in turn 1 Devastator Doctrine. He's going to be doing a minimum of 3 that each go through, as well as them all being natively -5 AP. Even with AOC, not sure I like that. And for those of you Orc players, I'm sure you're glad to know that AOC is gone. And referencing AOC, I'm talking about Armor of Contempt. No, not the stratagem in the Space Marine book, but it was an overall power armor buff that only seemed to happen to loyalists for a while, and then everybody got it, even sisters. Is a -1 to any AP shot into them. So some units, such as Eliminators, were like, no joke, -5 being shot into when they were in cover. Led to some very silly shenanigans, and -1 became very different. It led to a lot of weighted shots armies instead of a lot of AP. Now we're kind of seeing a balance bringing it back, and a lot more people taking things with involves, such as the veterans here in the front, Blade Guard with their storm shields, or things that can take the punishment a little bit, like Gravis being T5 with your Inceptors, heavy intercessors, things like that. Eradicators as well.
So we'll start with demons. A couple general rules out there. Demons have a 6 inch or
As we're continuing this movement phase, again, if you see anything that you like or would like for yourself outside of the kit bash bikes that Mike has done, I believe that's 1 or 2 or maybe more models than that. You can find them all here at Miniature Market. You can use the bit.ly link down in the description. You can like and subscribe as well. Again, we have Legion, X-Wing, Armada, D&D, Pokemon, anything you can think of, we more than likely have it. If you like to check out our online stock, you can find it in the bit.ly link down in the YouTube section. So for those of you like myself who are new, one of the fun things that Mike is doing here, which I think is really good to show, is he's doing a lot of pre-measuring. One of the few things you start doing as a newer player is I can go 6 inches, I can go 12 inches, I can go 5 inches, and one of the things that Mike's really showing here is the pre-measure is big. The further along you're going to go, especially as a melee army, getting within that 1 inch engagement zone, getting within that 3 inch consolidate, pile in, it really all starts to get together. So the pre-move or the pre-measure can really help you out. And it's not just for movement. It's for, I've got a 24 inch gun, how can I get within 23 but keep myself out of trouble? Because these warriors can go 5 inches, and can he advance and shoot? Can he advance and charge? How safe am I going to be? So it's not just your own stuff you'll be pre-measuring fun, but also the enemy as well, and it's just something I wanted to point out here, as it's helpful, and for those of you that don't do it, I would highly recommend it. And if you're anything like some of us, you'll end up with 1,000,000 dices all over the place, on the floor, on the table, in the map, just trying to figure out where you want to go, where you need to go. Michael Flash throwing these Gravis up front with the Inceptors. As we're looking also at these Inceptors, you can kind of see it from the top down. They're not on their normal flying stance, which is really cool. It looks like they're jumping off a rock, which for a lot of basing is interesting. You'll see that Rick has done basing the same across his entire army, and Mike's has a little bit variation between each squad. Some's a little bit thicker, some's a little bit not. And basing really can make your model. Now, there's a big stigma about, do you base before you mount the model, or do you base after you mount the model? And that's something, as chat, I think you should talk about yourselves. Because I, go figure, am somebody that puts the base on before I paint the model.
These eradicators are going to shoot these guys right here. I'm going to shoot with my eradicators. So they can get to double shoot, but I have to do this in 2 rounds, right? Because you can reanimate. So I think I shoot 3 of them, then you get to reanimate, and I get to shoot it a second time. 2 separate activations.
So he's talking about Total Obliteration, which is a Eradicator-only ability that allows them to shoot twice as long as they didn't advance in the turn, as long as it's at the same target. So for somebody running the heavies, you know, that's gonna be 6 shots at -5, going in minimum 3 damage. It's d6 plus 2, and if they're within half range, it's d6 plus 4, I believe.
So hitting on
And without anything big to shoot, it'll be interesting to see the T5 going from this. So the strength 8 into the T5.
then they're going to be wounding strength 8. These are T5. So hitting on
3s.
rerolling 1s for the element. Like this, and 1 goes through.
Ooh, unlucky. Luckily he gets to reroll.
5 because of Devastator.
So
You can't make that save.
Yeah, so I'll just do damage. So it's not within half. So just d6 damage. So hopefully it kills it. Cool. 4.
So that one score pick, like Rich had asked earlier, what did they ever do to those Eradicators? Just took 6 damage flat. So then now comes the second round go, because the Necrons, technically the total obliteration is a second round of shooting. You have to wait and do the reanimation between the rounds instead of doing it all together at the end. It goes back to the age-old play against Necrons, kill it until it's dead.
You go straight through.
So 2 more -5 straight through.
1 does 4 damage. And then
So we're looking at 9 damage total here. And they do not get back up. So it's 2 more score pecks down as a big scary blob in the middle, slowly being worn down. I was almost going to ask if I thought that was overkill to use the Eradicators there, but it seems to have paid off well for him. Dropping those 2 early on did kind of stink a little bit, but he's pulling through. So that's one thing Mike is not pointing out to us, is the fact that he killed so many of those score packs, and Rich has pulled them in a way that makes them untargetable by other things that want to shoot. There's really good game sense by Rich here.
they're going to overcharge.
Because by forcing him to choose something else to shoot with the more multi-melta shots, he's not getting quite as much value out of the multi-melta. I mean, we always love to see a good multi-melta in a guardsman or something, but is it really worth it?
So they'll blow themselves up. So first one shoots this many shots. It's 2d3, so 4 shots on the first one.
Here comes the first Inceptor with 4 shots, plasma.
Ones, they die.
On the overcharge,
I thought I could reroll it, but I kind of I'll just let it go. 3 so far, the next guy, 3 shots.
Wow.
6.
Nice roll.
second gentleman again, 1s will kill the model. He does get to re-roll them though, with the ores around. So that is 1 Inceptor blown up to his own plasma. Again, Inceptor's such a cool unit, so cool looking, fun to paint, fun to build. They got a nice points drop, and then 2 weeks later, I believe they were spent right back up to full time. Makes taking them interesting. They're still a great way to get some damage in, but I don't know if they're worth the points value at this time. You saw him pull 1 model due to a plasma explosion. He overcharged, so these 2 flat 2 apiece at the cost of 1 Inceptor though.
So moving on to these, hopefully no weakness. Yes, but the chaplain gave them +1 to wound if they shoot the season.
Oh, okay, good.
So that's why they're down to 2s.
So +1 to wound from the chaplain, making it nice, making that overcharge even better.
Wow.
Or no, maybe it's 3.
This is why you heard Michael praying to Lord Gilliman here for not to have any 1s there, because he only needed 2, so he needed anything but. And these are going to be flat 2 apiece. I believe they're -3 still on the overcharge.
Yeah, it's AP4.
Sorry, AP4.
Let's all go through. So 9?
9.
So this is a 4 foot 48 inches.
You'll bring a couple back though.
So we're basically in that 12.
Hopefully.
I was hoping to get one more. I should have just
Usually.
Okay, let's see how many come back.
Oh, the other thing that changed, I will start every battle round.
There's one. That. That's it, one. Wow. 2 stay alive.
Which is reanimation, allowing him to keep 1 or 2 models around, but having to pull most of the rest of the squad with him. The Inceptors, like we said, fantastic, like cool, a lot of fun to paint and build, but the points value, are they worth it? I don't know. They took out most of the squad to only 1 loss of their own. Again, that was really good rolling though by Mike to not have to deal with a lot of those 1s. So the rolling a 1 into a 1 is everybody's nightmare fuel. Interesting, we're seeing less and less of the what we would consider called the purple wave headed towards him now. It's been slaughtered down just a little bit, but will it be enough? There's still a bunch of bodies in reanimation to do from T5 and above.
They're T4? I keep asking that, right? T5, that's right. So 3s, yes. Reroll from 1. Yeah, close enough. 2 wounds, minus 4 AP. Let's just go straight through. Yep. First one does.
So the minus 4 AP is really what's kind of killing Rich here. With the plasmas, especially, and multi-meltas all being that so high.
Yeah, I was just like, wait, does that happen? I couldn't remember.
The high AP really makes it hard. We were talking about era of AOC, which was previously before the new Arcs of Omen update with the automatically negating -1. Really hard to play against Space Marines, but here now, Space Marines are really bringing back the extra AP. And against Space Marine matchups, the extra AP is super nice. Retchy ran Hellblasters for a while. You saw a little bit more Hellblaster play in the Space Marine for Space Marine games because of that native -4 AP. Now, without the era of AOC, it's really nice to be able to just punch through above that 6-up save. A lot of invulns taken now, like we had talked about with the Blade Guard Vets, Gilliman, and many others. Storm Shields are really coming back, especially with Vanguard Vets and Terminators and things like that.
Okay. I'll spend 1 CP for an Ultramarine strategy that makes one of the hits automatically hit. So I still have to wound, and then the other one will hit on a 3. Cool. So 2 hits, and then they're both going to wound on 3s. Okay, so 1 wound, and a -4.
And you got a 3. So 1, 2s, and 3s don't.
Oh, okay. Awesome. Yeah. Okay, because he's got that. Yep. Okay.
The Necrons, they're showing off their own little bit of the transhuman there. 1, 2s, and 3s not being able to wound him, which really hampered any sort of damage there. It's a great strat when you have it, not when it's used against you. The stratagem we're talking about is Transhuman Physiology, which is a Space Marine only stratagem, which means that to wound, they can no longer be wounded on anything above a 3. So 1, 2, and 3s do not hit, no matter if you're shooting at them with strength, 8 weapon, or more. And for those of you, again, who are newer to 40K and are just dipping your toe in, when we're talking about what they save on, every model has a base save. They've got a Space Marine base save is 3-up. Anytime you get anything that has AP, it changes that save. So if the save is a 3 and you get a -1, we'll say a -1 AP to it, it then becomes you have to roll a 4. If it's -2, it becomes you have to roll a 5, things like that. Now, when you're going to hit or wound, every unit has a ballistic and a weapon skill. So a ballistic skill is Space Marines, just the vanilla, are at the boys in blue on the cover of every box, as we well know, have a ballistic skill of 3. So say you roll 4 dice, and 3 of them go through on 3. So anything 3, 4, 5, and 6 will count as being hit. For wounds, it is your strength versus their toughness. So if you're shooting something that is the same, so strength 4 and toughness 4, that is a 4-up to wound. You have to roll a 4. If you are weaker than them but not double, then you'll be hitting on 5. So if you're shooting 4 into 5, then you have to hit on 5s. If you're shooting to something double the strength or hitting to something double the strength, it then becomes a 6. So say a guardsman shooting a las gun at strength 3 into a speeder that's T6. They are then hitting on 6s to wound. They're hitting on 6s to wound. They still hit on whatever their ballistic skill is going, which I believe is a 4-up.
Cool. Should be able to get all this.
Now, it goes the other way, too, which is why Transhuman and the relic that Rich had was so important. So if you double somebody's toughness with your strength, so say you're shooting a strength 8 plasma into a T4 Space Marine, then you are then hitting on 2s. Now, if you are just stronger than them, but not double, then you are then wounding on 3s. I'm sorry, I'm interchanging hit and wound here. So you're then wounding on 3s. And that's kind of how that goes. And when you play, it makes sense saying it right now. I'm sure you're scratching your head a little bit, but you'll see a lot of players just kind of freeze, do quick math, and then do it again. So that's why you'll be hearing a lot of minus thrown out or wounding on such and such. And this is why this is so difficult, because you could take something with so massive going to be wounding on 2s like Mike was going to, and with that relic he was then unable to do that because he only rolled 3s and belows.
A little bit of average.
Again, if you see anything here that you like outside of the custom bases by Rich, as well as those bikes done by Mike, you can find them at Miniature Market. You can either find it in one of our stores at Cave Springs or over at Manchester, Missouri, or you can find it online using the bit.ly link down in the description. Again, we also appreciate if you would like and subscribe, and we'll be around for all your tabletop needs. Blade Guard bets now into the Score Pack Destroyers. 1 dead, 1 with wounds. See if the resurrection happens here.
Nope.
Oh, so that Score Pack is down for the count.
I thought you got it. I was like,
Make it explode so you can run it. That's fantastic.
All of my CPs just gonna be in 20.
So it's all so get your tank back?
Blade Guard's gonna have to weather this smack back until these Score Packs are known for one thing: smashing face.
I think I'm going to go ahead and I'll just transfuse.
Honestly, if they're painted green, they could have been very orky. Would have been a great time.
Try to keep them around until their turn.
Still interesting is the castle that we had saw earlier is slowly starting to spread out from the center. Gilliman is kind of shifted a little bit left. Chaplain stayed in the same spot, but they're both being protected by 1 Blade Guard vet now. Keep away from any errant snipers or lucky shots, things like that. Those are kind of the key pins to his army on that side.
1, 2, 3 go through. Okay. And I am within 6 inches of him, so I get to reroll 1 to wound. Nope.
Okay. Makes me feel good.
3 at -4.
Yeah, they still have
So
a
it's
4
going to go up to 4 up and bone here for the veterans.
Okay, fail 1. And how much damage is it? 3, so it'll kill 1.
So it'll be insta-deleting 1 of the veterans, but Mike able to save at least 2 of them up onto his shields. Otherwise, it could have been a squad wipe, which is just beneficial to him to keep those guys in there. As you can see, Mike's trying to figure out the best spot to pull one of these guys from. He went to pull somebody and realized it was a sergeant. Kind of would rather have that good leadership and extra attack.
End of turn 1? Okay, so now we roll to see where the objectives move.
Oh, that's right.
All right, top of 2 now. Like he had said, the mission is all about you roll 2 dice within 12 inches of the center. Listen to them, they will explain it.
You have to roll it in the middle. And the lower one to the bigger one.
Yeah, I think so. Cool, okay. I'll roll this one, you can roll yours. Okay, so it goes this way, and then I already forgot. Do we just pick random for how many? Okay. Do you want to roll it?
2
So
plus
5 inches this direction.
Mostly it's beans have
So funny.
wow.
So, reiterating some of the rules of them moving the objectives, they got the direction, and then it's D3 plus 3. So any movement they have is to the whims of chaos, I guess you could say, or just the whims of the plot armor if it's the Ultramarines. So we've got them pushing back. Luckily, he does have units that are not super far off, although one is going back into the deployment and another one is coming out. So Rich is having to push forward a little bit. Mikes are going back towards him. Not necessarily a bad thing for someone who's got enough melee infantry in the center there to deal with what comes at him. But then again, we do have the horde of warriors still sitting in the back, as well as those up on that corner piece in front of you, and a couple of big scary boys. The only things really engaged right now are what we would call a speed bump set of veterans.
Well, I guess all it means for scoring is that you have those two. So is it hold 1, hold 2, hold 4?
Reiteration of some of those rules again for the objectives. They table. They would have to go to a minimum distance as written in the rules. They can also go across and end on terrain features, but they cannot end on top of a model's base. That is the only stipulation. It would then have to be just changed.
Yeah, those two, and then not that one. Yeah. So you'll. Oh, and then control. I control this one and this one, so we'll control the same amount.
You can find it here at Miniature Market, either at our Manchester store, the one off of Cave Springs in St. Peters. If you would prefer, we do have an online selection. You can go on to the bit.ly link down in the description. Look at whatever we have. Again, if you want to come into the store, every night of the week is something different. It's got X-Wing, we've got Legion, Armada, 40k Sigmar, Magic the Gathering, so many more. Pokemon as well, D&D on Monday nights, so many shenanigans. You can find us again in the Billy link in the description. Look us up online. We'd love to see you. Love to see you in the community.
Yeah, all we're doing is strawberry because it's such a high demand.
He's the only one.
Yeah, because I failed to win because he's in the only win on a 4-up.
Closer and closer this game is getting, we're starting to try and figure out what's going to happen. And me, I'm not good at foreshadowing, I just shoot things. So, we've got, again, the speed bump in the center. And we say speed bump is a term when you're just trying to slow down the enemy's advance by something either durable or cheap. Sometimes you hope both. So those vets right there, you can call them Vanguard vets, those Blade Guard veterans in the center are trying to get rid of those score packs, which are some of the heaviest hitting units that he's going to have. It's also around the score pack board. He's just trying to get those finished off the board, as you saw how many multi-multi shots he had put into them. Now this left flank is still having shields and a melee unit coming at it. Other than we have an assault intercessor squad sitting over there in the same corner, along with his custom bike with a multi-melta. So we don't know if it'll be enough. At distance, the assault intercessors are only going to have regular pistols and plasma pistols, but the bike might be able to help balance that out again. With Rich's reanimation, anything you shoot does have the chance to come back if you do not wipe that squad. Really kind of hampers split firing for Necrons because you need to kill it until it is dead or splitting attacks. Again, those score packs in the center almost squad wiped the 3 veterans, but luckily to a 4-up save, which is an invuln, which, touching on our topic of saves earlier, an invuln save is a save that cannot be modified. So storm shields, such as the ones the Blade Guard vets are wearing, have an invuln to the bearer, which is a 4-up. So it means that no matter what goes through at crazy AP, they could take a volcano cannon from a Titan at strength 16, 1,000,005 damage, but as long as they roll that 4-up, they'll be alright. Whereas something just has a base save, like these assault intercessors, that would go through automatically, like we saw earlier with some of Rich's warriors at that strong -5.
There might be like some angles where you can't get him, because he shot him, so.
Still like that, no narrative.
Here's Rich getting some of his vehicles up into play. It's going to be a little, we should say, scary and dampening at the same time. Rich trying to get close and do the damage he can. These scarab swarms are beautifully painted and also terrifying. I believe they are 4 wounds apiece. So they're a little bit, again, going back to that speed bump comment we made, they are a great unit to sit there and choke and hold and do the damage if you need it, but more times than not, they're a great scout unit or something to get ahead and take an objective for you, or just bog them down so your slower things can get there. Scorpex Lord coming, look like he might charge into those veterans, which would be very devastating to them. Gives him a couple extra inches of movement too from the consolidate. Rich right there staying an inch out of engagement range. He put it in there initially and went, I am too close. We've all done it. We all do it. And sometimes it's funny. By funny, I mean sometimes you end up with characters on top of each other and things like that. All in all, everybody knows they play their intent, which is what both of our players have been doing all day. They've been making sure that people want to move things and things they haven't. And again, I cannot talk about this community over here at Miniature Market enough. I know I'm sounding like I'm rambling, and that is perfectly acceptable. I'm a brand new player myself. I've only been playing for about a year, playing Iron Hands the whole time. And Nick, one of our people you will be seeing here in the coming weeks. Actually, I played Nick at I believe our last game at 2,000 points, Orcs versus Iron Hands. Should be a fun game. Is one of our resident, I would say, mentors around here. He teaches people that don't know how to play. He'll sit down and play a 500-point game with you, teach you the rules, make sure you get it. Now, he's gonna crump you, though. He likes his melee. He's an orc through and through. But he's there to teach, he's there to help, and he does that all of his own volition. There are plenty of other guys and gals here that do the same thing, so if you have questions, you want to come in and talk shop, want to say, hey, I've got a squad of something, or can I watch, can you tell me what's going on? If these streams don't satisfy that itch enough, you're always more than welcome to come in. We play every Tuesday. We also have a Discord, which Miniature Market allows us to use. They are not the owners of this Discord, but they allow us to use it for them. Again, Miniature Market off of Manchester as well as Cave Springs. You can find the link to their online store in the bit.ly link in the description. Has anything you need for your tabletop needs. On top of D&D, 40K, Sigmar, Crisis Protocol, a bunch of paint sets going from Army Painter, Vallejo, and GW, rattle cans, places to help you base, stencils, things like that. They will all find it in that bit.ly link online or in one of the fabulous Miniature Market stores. We're going to jump ahead here for about a minute or two. I will be back with you and let Rich show you what we're going to be doing for the shooting phase.
6 shots.
Well, actually, sorry, before you do this, how much damage are the attacks?
Strength 7, minus 3 D3.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Very good. The objectives have, the objective cloud is playing.
So 3 hit.
All right, and we'll go on to your board.
Strength 7 on toughness. 5, so 3s.
So as well.
2 of them at minus 3.
Minus 3, so 6 ups. Okay, let's see. Nope, failed both.
Sounds good.
A D3 damage? Okay.
So 3, 4.
One kills one and the other one does
Psychics after me.
So now any of my other units that shoot them, re-roll once to hit. These guys are going to shoot into him? Everybody's win, but nobody's in 15, unfortunately. Okay, so I get 10 shots.
Okay, those are immortals, right?
Yep.
I get them confused because they look so similar to those now.
Yeah.
Because they have the double-barreled guns.
10 shots. I need 3s. Get to re-roll 1s. So there's 2, 3 1s. Okay.
Yeah, that was
That
mine.
misses. These 3. Okay. Those all hit. Strength 5.
T5s to 4s.
So 4s. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 at minus 2.
So that'll bring them up to a 5. How much damage are these actually?
1.
1. Shoot. Okay, yep, 5 ups. No, he's very dead. Yep, cool. Okay.
Okay. So he would shoot into that guy?
Yep, biker. Totally.
And just to be sure, we're going to put everything in.
Yep. Yeah, he's only got 4 wounds, but he's T5. I think it's 4 wounds. I'll double check that. It might be 5, but I think it's 4. Yeah, 4.
All right, so my big weapon, I get 3 shots. Need 3s. Only one of them. Strength 6.
T5.
So 3. No. Okay. Next one, I get 10 shots. Good thing I said all of them.
These are the ones I'm more scared about because it's like the tiny little ones that get through against these guys a lot of the time. It's only 4 wounds.
All right. I need
We're back here in the shooting phase going on with Rich and Mike between the blue boys in blue, the Ultramarines, the poster
There's one more
boys,
in there, too.
those with the thickest armor, plot armor, not Gravis, as well against Necrons and Rich. Now Rich has moved pretty far up the board. We're trying to see here. We've got a second on what to do with the shooting phase. Now that he's got a bunch of things in range.
7. So I need 3s.
Oh, is that everything?
Wow, it's everything. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12.
Rich going 100% on a roll, which as a Warhammer player you love to see. Those dice will not be going in dice jail. Probably actually be praised even. Mike here with 3s going for the old I'm going to make you roll it strat.
Well, I picked one of those. I think I'm still alive with 1 wound.
Nicely done.
Mike over here counting his wounds. Seems he is down to 1 living on a hair or even a prayer to the Emperor. Rich has demonstrated that.
What was your
Rich has also demonstrated that when he's close, he protocol.
Oh, yes. It's,
Give it to Rich here. Talk about his protocol for a second.
If you want to, you can go ahead.
add 1 to the movement characteristic.
If you just want to push everything else, because you've only shot with them and them.
And here again, some good sportsmanship being shown. They're just telling him to go ahead and move everything an inch
It
forward.
doesn't change. He got all his shots in.
One thing Mike is reiterating here is there's no change to the game state. So everything moving forward 1 inch more isn't going to be in a difference with ranges of guns or things like that. Then again, Mike is one of those players and Rich that would be willing to allow to have it even to change game state a little bit because this is a fluff and a narrative league and we're not trying to be as comp as we are. We just had LVO over the last couple of weekends. Those of you who don't know, LVO, the Las Vegas Open, is the biggest 40K tournament in the world. So there's enough competitive play there, played for everybody for the next couple of months.
Yep.
See if I make it.
There we go. Joking about the 1 inch charge here. So Mike and Rich are both talking about when you roll more than you need for a charge like that, and you can always say you can do a backflip or spin around them or go wherever you need to. But then there's sometimes you get within that 2 inch charge distance and roll 2 1s and go, thank you.
Charge with, so
Here comes the Scorpex Destroyer Lord into the veterans first. So we're going to really see if he's probably going to be living on these 4-up invuln saves.
he can,
Rich is here just going over the stats real fast for us.
he can double his attacks if I use his strength 6, minus 21. Or I think I'm going to use the hyperphase. So he's going to be strength 8, minus 4, and 3. I have to subtract 1 from my to hit though.
Okay.
He usually hits on 2, so he hit it on 3.
And then I'll spend a CP to make it transhuman physiology so that you wound on 4s.
Okay.
So some good counterplay here going on. So Rich's melee monster, we'll call him, the Scorpic Destroyer Lord, has 2 weapon profiles. It's very much like the Axe Slayers from Votan. I know that's not their name, so what they are, the Berserkers, whatever you wish to call them. It's kind of like having a sweep and a heavy attack. So his initial ones were only strength 6, giving him extra attacks and no minuses to hit. But because the Destroyer Lord hits on 2 base, he was going to take that -1 to hit for using the stronger weapon, because he didn't think it would affect him that much. 1 went through, and it was a flat 3 damage. So everybody that would have been hit by that at such high AP and damage would have been just an immediate kill with no of the other feel no pains, anything like that. He used Transhuman here, which really saved him because he only had to make 1 save then, which means he cannot be wounded on 4, 5s, and 6s, which we had talked about earlier. So kind of coming back around from Rich's use of it earlier to Michael's use of it now.
3.
So on the hit back, there are 3 at -3.
Nope.
And they're 2 apiece. Is that
So he drops 2, it means 2 apiece. I'm going to go to 4 damage.
That guy ends up with 2, and the other guy's dead.
So we do have reanimation still.
Nope.
Oh, so Rich is down to 1 Scorpic in that squad, but the Scorpic Destroyer Lord is in melee still. It was an interesting choice for Mike to go ahead and choose to go after the Scorpics themselves instead of the Destroyer Lord. So instead of going against that super tough character, he was more worried about trying to just clear that squad out. He's probably hopeful that he can just shoot that character off the board within the next turn or 2, as long as he's not character protected.
cool? Keeps going. Yeah.
That's not fair.
Rich over here making sure those storm shields work for their money, and Mike is showing it right back to him, rolling a 5 there on another would automatically kill me from a veteran.
And then I hold this.
The speed bump unit might no longer be a speed bump unit. We might have to start calling them what they are, veterans, actual holding the line. This right here could be a pretty good section for Moment of Valor. If you think about it, they've been there for 2 turns. They've eaten a character charge. They've helped out with the score packs. But there's kind of fun things happening all over the place here at Miniature Market. Again, we're over here in Cave Springs. There's another one over in Manchester. If you like anything you see here or would like anything else, we've got Crisis Protocol, Legion, Armada. I could go through the whole list, but how about you check out that bit.ly link in the description, see if there's anything that catches your eye. Again, we'd also really appreciate if you like and subscribe. It would really benefit us to keep bringing you great content like this.
He's just going to do the +1 or +2 to advance a charge. Goes off on a 3 up.
So here comes a mantra from the
So he
chaplain.
gives an aura of +2, or it might only be charge.
He's giving a aura to charge, which I believe it's a +1.
Okay.
Don't need to be in Devastator anymore.
He is deciding to move on from Devastator. The only thing that was really benefiting that were his heavy weapons with that extra AP and the no penalty to move. Now he will be moving his Eradicators, so they will actually, if he moves them, they will be jumping up to a 4-up ballistic skill, which may not be the worst thing with the rerolls being given to them.
Because of Tactical Doctrine, I can move and I have to station, so they're not hitting the 4s anymore.
I forgot Ultramarines. Never mind. So Ultramarines, when in the Tactical Doctrine, allow it to move heavy weapons without taking the penalty as well. They're treated as being within the Tactical Doctrine there. So one of the things I was mistaken on, I am not as well versed in the Boys in Blue as some of the others, and my wonderful producer friend Ty, sitting right next to me, who is a by-and-by Ultramarines player, was willing to inform me of that, as was Michael. I appreciate them both and love them immensely. Only because they're Space Marines, not a Xenos player. I'm looking at you, Xenos players. We've got a little bit of a move back here. Interesting that he's keeping the Assault Intercessors, trying to keep them out of charge range. If you see, he keeps backing them up again with a little bit of pre-measuring. Again here with the veterans as well. He's trying to, he knows he's gonna have to deal with those swarms here sooner or later, but that is 12 wounds on 3 bases to get through there. So it's gonna be hard to either shoot off or stab off, if you would.
You're -1, you're not the closest target.
I was also be careful with this bike over here on the side. It is down to 1 wound and living on a prayer, but the only good thing about bikes is they do not bracket like a bunch of other vehicles in almost the entirety of 40K.
Under T5.
Yes.
Now he's going to make sure the Vidics guard are probably going to be moved back, make sure they are still on that objective and unshootable. Slowly but surely, we are getting the two fronts fully pushed together. We'll see if these vets are going to be going in to help the other veterans as well, or if they'll be looping around to try and get those scarabs. As we said, those swarms there are a little, we'll just say annoying is the best way to say it. Again, at 4 wounds for 3 bases, you're looking at 12 wounds to get through there. It's a tough one. You almost wonder, is it worth putting the eradicators in or to get rid of those vehicles first? Now, they do have the total obliteration again on the eradicators. Total obliteration, as we talked about earlier, it means they can shoot the same target twice. Now, with Necrons, it's a little different because the first time they shoot them, they then have the ability to reanimate between the rounds of shooting, which allows them to come back. And again, the Necrons kill it till it's dead. We've been talking about a lot about the Ultramarines, but we can't sit back here and not say Rich isn't playing a great game. He's really forcing the middle, really forcing Mike to react to him. And as soon as these Vanguard vets are gone, which I'm sure he's going to get rid of here in a sec, he will be more than on his way to making sure those objectives are all his. We talked about death blobs a little bit earlier in this. I'm just staring at this beautiful purple and green death blob vehicles in the center here. Rich is gonna probably power through with. Rich, how many wounds is your big guy in the center? How many wounds is he? 20? Rich just informed me that the one in the center is 20 wounds, and that thing will be a bruiser. Coming up with a little lane blocking from Michael on the left-hand side. I think he's just trying to make sure it fits. Making sure he keeps objectives, keeps auras going. Scout cars, which were hand done by Mike. Again, we said a little bit of kit bashing. Both of these players are pretty darn good artists, if I do say so myself. Rich is some of the best basing I've seen in a very long time. His stuff is beautifully done. Same thing with Mike's.
So I've got this unit of plasma scepters in reserve.
You got what?
So in comes the second set of plasma and scepters. So the set that was in deep strike allowed to come down within 9 inches of an enemy if you wanted them to. He's going to try and probably put them within the bubble, make sure that they get those reruns so he can overcharge them with a little less fear blowing them all up. So far, so good. I'm not going to try and jinx him and say he only lost 1 from the other squad, but as someone who also runs plasma, he only lost 1 from the other squad.
Okay. So the first thing we're going to do is we'll have this attack bike is going to shoot.
So the 1 wound attack bike here is going to
It's an annihilation barge.
is going to be trying to shoot the barge first, get that up and out of the way. Again, we do see that it is at 1 wound,
And it's got
but
the same thing this does.
Okay, so only wounds on a 4-up.
so it's got the transhuman wound into it, so it only 4, 5s, and 6s.
Cool. So 1 wound
wounds.
and minus 4 AP.
So the minus, it's down to a -4, not 5, because it's no longer there. Does not go into the Devastator Doctrine. You decide to move on. Now we've got a 5-up invuln. It goes through. It's going to be D6 plus.
Actually in range, so D6 plus 2.
So it's going to be a minimum of 3.
8 damage.
Take 8 damage, and Max is out there. That is the faces all around. That is not a normal roll.
Wow. Unbelievable.
That was kind of some, like for real, that was like some freebie shooting. I was not expecting that. That was,
All right, let's see. Explodes. No. Holy cow. All right. So if that's the way you want to play it.
Rich is over here judging with joking around with Michael. You know, as far as damage rolls goes, that it was a pretty lucky roll beating out both the transhuman 4, 5s, and 6 that the vehicle, the barge, had built into it, with remaining on 1 wound from the biker that hit him,
they're going to
and does 8
overcharge.
damage to one tap for those of you that are FPS gamers. To 1 tap the barge in the center.
Shoot. First guy gets that 1, 2, 3 shots. So 3 shots. Hitting on 3s.
+1 attack on the charge.
Cool, everything hit. That's great. So 1 is done. Second guy shooting is 5 shots.
Here become, I believe, the Inceptors are shooting. Rerolling 1s.
No, the 2 doesn't, but I don't want to. I'm trying not to kill him. Because if they re-rolled into 1s, they'd blow themselves up, so I'm a little scared.
So here comes the Inceptor. The Inceptor's overcharged again, as we saw previously. So he's got rerolling 1s. He maxes out one of the Inceptors there for 6 total shots. It's D3 shots per plasma, and there's 2 on each Inceptor. T5, strength. The gun's going to be strength 7. Overcharge, I believe, strength 8, -4.
So they're only wounding on 3s because they don't have the +1 to wound this time. So 3s to wound.
If you remember the last time the Inceptor shot, they wiped out most of the melee squad on that right-hand side, just the massive amount of AP, and with these being 2 damage apiece. He's trying to look and do the same thing here again, just try and get enough wounds off.
Okay.
And Rich had reiterated to me earlier, the big vehicle right next to the veterans in the center is 20 wounds. And you can actually see right now the unit that Rich is trying to defend here. Now he gets cover, so he will get +1 to his save from the pipe. But will it be enough to save him?
1 left, so you get reanimation. Yeah, they're 2 damage apiece, sorry. Sorry, I didn't say that. They're 2 damage.
Mike, did you shoot that? That was that back squad, right? Did you get blast?
It's so easy. All you do is swipe inside.
I rolled about, I think I would have done like maybe 1 more.
About average. So it's one thing Mike and I were just discussing there is the blast rules for D3 weapons is if there are 6 or more models in the squad, so 6 to 10 for the blast rule. For D3 weapons allows you to max out the number of shots. So he rolled fairly well there, as you saw the double 6s on one of the Inceptor rolls, but it would mean that all of these you would have had maximum shots, so it would have been 6 per at 18 shots. So Rich is here trying to make the saves, do a little bit of reanimation. Unfortunately, the reanimation did not go the way he had planned. He still holds the objectives, still has a 5-man unit over there. So he holds the point and he'll be okay for now.
So we're shooting the Gladiator Reaper. He's going to split fire a whole bunch.
So the Gladiator Reaper, sporting an old paint job of times bygone, will be shooting here now. The Gladiator's got a pretty big points buff with the new AO Arcs of Omen. Point changes, so it's super good fight. You actually can't find any of them online at any of the resales or used or anything like that, but you can find them online at Miniature Market. You can use the bit.ly link in the description. Anything you can find on there, you can normally find in store. We play games every night of the week. We've got D&D on Mondays. We've got Legion, Armada, Magic, Pokemon, a bunch of other games. You can come in, reserve a table. There is no fee to reserve a table. Different nights have league nights. Obviously, Tuesday nights is 40K. Again, we'd love you to like and subscribe so you can see all of our content, not just our Warhammer, although it is our best. I am a little biased. We would love to see it. Again, check out that bit.ly link in the description to see if you can find anything you want online. We ship internationally from St. Louis.
3 shots.
So here's the Gladiator Reaper going into the rest of Rich's stuff. Again, this is going to be a silly number of shots going in.
So wounds on 3s. Just 1 wound at -1.
And for those of you who are more astute, might be wondering, that's not a Gladiator. That is. It's just in camo. Running an old section. But we are pretty fair on proxies here as well. If you're going to run something that you would like slightly different than a model, maybe you don't have it, yada yada. Almost everybody here is really cool with it. Now, if you're bringing like a cardboard box and say it's a Rhino, things might be a little bit different. Actually, you know what? Next time I'm going to bring a box that says Rhino on the side of it, and that'll be my Rhino. And you know what? That sounds like a great idea. You guys have given me a brilliant idea, and I appreciate you for it.
Okay. So these shots are going in there. They're going to hit on 3s. He does get to reroll the 1s from Gilligan, because that works.
So the Gladiator Reaper, the auto cannons on it, I believe they're called, not the Reaper auto cannons, that is Chaos, and we are loyalists over here. But it's 20 shots coming out at them in the Heavy Doctrine would be -2, but I believe it's -1. So this is one of those instances where it's just going to be, hey, I'm going to make you roll for it. Plus, it also has free war gear now, so the storm bolters and things like that, stubbers are all free as well. We're just gonna wait a second here and see how these rolls go.
Yes, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. 14 wounds at -1, so you get covered there.
I got 3.
Again, like we said, with all those number of shots coming from that Reaper, it looks like he's going to be pulling 14 through, which is not a small amount to roll. As any of us knows, if you're not an Orc player, we all don't have the biggest hands, so getting that many dice into one is pretty hard to do.
Exactly.
And they're only 1 damage.
Okay.
Yep, so just 2.5.
And if you're looking for dice, a great place to check out would be Miniature Market. You can use the bit.ly link in the description or visit one of our stores in Manchester, Missouri, or off of Cave Springs here in St. Peters. Again, we also appreciate if you would like and subscribe. It really helps us out to keep doing this, and if Warhammer isn't your thing, then we have many other streams coming to you down the pipeline, and we hope that you'll be around for all of them. All those Reaper autocannons, which is not what that was Chaos, are only 1 damage apiece, so it really helps out when you're playing things such as Death Guard, who negate a lot of 2 damage. It forces them to have to make the saves and not get that -1 damage, which, as I'm sure many have played against Death Guard, you know is very hard to do. They might be slow, but they are tough to shoot through. Here comes Mike with the rest of his shots. Now again, coming out of that Reaper, it is so many shots.
Okay, so they get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and these are AP2 because of a tactical doctrine.
Rich now having to make the AP2 saves. Looking for 6s.
Got 1. 7 die.
7 die.
Come on.
Do they resurrect 1 better?
Huh?
Or did they get like +1 to their resurrection? Is that the deal? Or do
No,
they?
they did reroll once.
That's it. Okay.
Just something fun that they were just talking about. There's a +1 to resurrection, so I believe it's normally 5. So it would go down to 4s then for them to resurrect the wounds that they have lost, which would be really, beneficial for the Necron player to really bring back a whole horde. So you can bring that to 4 up, like a bunch of the saves that Mike has been making on his veterans. You can really change the name of the game.
It was 8, you saved 1 for 7, so I think 4 died.
Another great thing about Warhammer, especially if you're a new player like myself and many of those in this league, if we have this thing called Warhammer math. It's where you can only add and subtract in intervals of 6. We never go beyond 6. You can get up to a -4, 5, and 6, or a +4, 5, or 6, but we always stop at 6. As you saw right there, and players helping each other out when we had to go up to 7. The highest we Warhammer players can count is maybe wounds at 20, and definitely charge ranges at 12. After that, don't ask us.
And then he's probably like T5, T6. Okay, so 3s. He doesn't have the only wounds on 4s. Okay, so wounding on 3s.
So here comes multi-melted shots.
Pass 1, fail 1. I think I'm going to spend a CP to try to get 2 through.
Michael using a 1 CP to reroll, a command point reroll, which is a stratagem anybody can use. They only get to use it once per phase, though. So you can use it as many times as you would like. There's no limit on it, but you can use it to reroll charges, damage, saves, to hits, anything you basically once, but you can only use it once per phase. So if you need to make a good save here, but then you try to reroll one you needed later, you can't do it. It's 1 CP strat.
Okay.
He was also clarifying there that the big model does not have the mini transhuman worked into it, meaning 4, 5s, and 6s are the only things that get hit. Mike is now looking over his plethora of
I
blue.
can do this all at the same time because there's no reanimation protocols or anything on him. It's not, if it's like
So one of the things
two
Mike is
activations,
double checking here is his, how we would say, follow through of shooting. So when you're playing against things such as Necrons or something that has maybe bodyguards or extra models around it, like Romaldus or things like that, you want to make sure that you're getting the shooting right. You never want to use that high damage things first. You want to blink it off like void shields. You want to make sure you get, assault cannons through before you have to pump the big blast cannons or things into it, so you actually do the damage that are capping at 3. So that's kind of what Mike was trying to do here, was just trying to figure out in which order he needed to shoot to do the most damage.
And those were all big.
Oh no, sorry. Actually, two of them did. That's right. Three of them.
Okay. And how many damage those do?
D6 plus 2.
We're gonna go ahead and,
Okay, I'm going to do these.
we're gonna start this time. We can change it. Because you have the one moving guy. I don't have Alpha shots on one moving guy. That guy hit real well.
It's the, gives him a 4+ involvement instead of 5.
Which is a good strat here from the Necrons. It allows him to go to a 4 invul instead of a 5. Normally invul's not modifiable, but right now it might come in handy for him.
1.
So he ends up saving 1. It could have been worse. We'll see how much damage.
Roll hot. 5 plus 4, 9 damage.
So he's going to be taking 9, which is almost half its hit points. Again, multi-melters are not something to scoff at.
Or no, that's wrong unit.
Again, for those of you who are just joining us, this is the bottom of turn 2 between Michael and his Ultramarines and Rich and his Necrons. Both veteran players of many a year, previous editions, both fantastic people and great painters, as you can see by the armies arrayed before you. Now, if there's anything on this table that you would like to pick up for yourself, you can use that bit.ly link down in the description. Find Miniature Market's online store. If you would like to come visit us in person, we have a store off of Manchester and a store off of Cave Springs. We would love to see you. If 40K is not your thing, well, we would love to have you around for either X-Wing, Armada, Legion, Magic, Pokemon, D&D, anything that you can think of, we can have it. You can check also the online schedule, which shows up our upcoming events, including our Warhammer days, where we get to go out and play big APOC events and things like that, or learn to plays, painting competitions, things like that. You can find that all in the bit.ly link below. Again, we'd also appreciate if you could like and subscribe. That would be really beneficial to us as a channel. We can bring you more content like this, more Warhammer, more Sigmar, more Star Wars. Whatever you like, we like it too. Trust me, the entire cast and crew are all just a bunch of nerds, and that's why we're here, to roll dice and have fun with people just like us. Speaking of which, the community does have a Discord. It is not run by Miniature Market, but it is allowed, they do allow us to use it. It's very beneficial. You can go on there. I believe we have 70 or 80 Warhammer players in there themselves. We have Sigmar as well. We would love to see you on there.
And then, and then 2 more shots hitting on 3.
And again, we'd like to reiterate, if you are a new player or even somebody looking to get back into the new edition, just like Rich himself, who played in 6th edition, then we would always love to have you. Again, we have people like Nick, who you'll be seeing playing in the 6th week game, and a few others that are more than willing to always be around and teach people. Nick's actually the one who taught myself how to play, him and Chandler, my other co-host. They are both doing it. Michael has also been somebody who I've played against, who has been very beneficial to learn from. So if you're ever looking for people to play, just pick someone's brain, whether it's painting or not. We have an entire painting channel dedicated in the Discord where we give each other tips, tricks, and anything in between. There's a lot of meme painting in there as well. We would love to see you guys.
It's only 3 damage total. Yeah, so. Haven't used that.
Michael now deciding to try and take care of those swarms. He's got 1 down to 1 wound. and 1 gone. So like we said, those are 4 wounds apiece, 3 models. So you're looking at 12 wounds. It's not always the easiest to get through without some dedicated firepower. And here comes the charge from the veterans.
So it's like a 7/5 with +2.
So from the mantra that he got from the chaplain, it's a +2 to his charge.
Barely got it. Yes.
Just getting it through the skin of his teeth, because he needs that extra inch to get through the terrain. And he's just going to make sure he gets close enough to get within engagement, allows him to attack that last store pack. So he gets in, touches in, and then he consolidates, piles into his fight. It's 3 inches towards the closest.
I was just like, no, it's going 6. I get it.
I think all of my charges.
Okay, also 4 inches.
Let's go.
Alright, charges phase is done. Now we go down into the fight phase with the veterans that charged right there on the Sport Kek Lord and the destroyers. They get to attack first. I believe they are staying out of the engagement range of the Lord.
I think I'm going to reroll the 2.
Mike here with a wound roll of 4. Since they are hitting up, it is only,
Just 4.
I believe it is an even damage, or even toughness.
I need 6s.
2 damage to 6. So it
They
finishes
all
them
go
off.
through.
Rich, unfortunately, they're not making the saves that was needed. He takes 2 damage apiece, but his Scorpex Sword's there, and is probably going to give him a stern talking to. Now, given the option, he can either try and move into the engagement of the Lord, or if he's going to try and move closer to those warriors, he decided to leave them where they are, force them to move to him, and do whatever else they need. He does have 1 in cover there as well, giving him that +1 to save, although Storm Shield does as well, so you can't compound
I
those.
think I'm just going to spend another CP on transhuman.
So the Scorpic Lord is now swinging into those last 2 veterans that you see there in that first squad that has been quote-unquote the speed bump since turn 1. He's transhuman on them, meaning again 4, 5, and 6.
The Berserkers are going to mark into
You didn't even roll any 3s though, so like even the CP didn't even worth anything. Well, okay, so these will be on their -4, yeah. So these will be on their 4-up invulns. So
The more and more I'm looking at this board, this side that Rich has is closest to me with the Scarabs and the melee unit on this side. I'm kind of interested to see which way these objectives blow, because if any sort of them move towards Rich, I think we're in for Ultramarines to be hurting just a little bit. And those Assault Intercessors only a 6-inch move, and that bike down to 1, although they don't bracket, it might be interesting to see how this side folds. Now, instead, Mike has also had to move a bunch of his stuff from that left-hand side all the way across to kind of help out that center, where you see those veterans right now engaged with that Lord, with the fighting is going on. So he's got 5 up saves,
just 1, minus
or 4 up invuln saves, my apologies.
nice.
So Rich has managed to make that save with the 4 up invuln. So that ability that Rich used to change that invuln from a 5 to 4 is really being beneficial here. There's a lot of counter defense play with the transhuman as well as a +1 to an invuln.
Would you like to spend 2 CP to auto pass it?
Yes, might as well.
Rich there, instead of deciding to roll for those that leftover unit, decides to use Insane Bravery, which is another stratagem like Command Reroll. Anybody can use, although you can only use it once per game. It is 2 CP, and it auto passes any unit for morale. Which, to keep holding that objective, there was a pretty good chance they had lost over half their units there, so there's a pretty good chance of more than just 1 running away. In fact, the whole squad running away could have been a real issue there. So this is a good spend of CP. I think Rich still has about 6 CP left, if I'm looking at his dice right are 5 CP. I don't think he's hurt. Again, those of you that are just joining us, this is the top of 3. They are rolling to see which way the objective markers move. It's D3 plus 3 in the direction they go.
Yeah, so let's see how it goes. Plus 2, 5 inches.
So they're going 5 inches this time. So they're joking around right now. They're going almost directly back to where they started. So just like the Wizard of Oz, they've been whirlwinded around. They're coming back, although this time doesn't look like there's any witches. No Eldar on this board, so I think we'll be safe.
I'm gonna spend a CP to do acceleration.
Fortunately enough, it looks like a lot of the objectives are going to remain within hands. And we talked about on this side, those assault intercessors holding on to that objective. And we're still within, I believe, movement and charge range from the bridge coming up on this next turn. So I think it'll be interesting. I'm really excited to see what happens on this side of the table. Now the center, he's still got those 2 big old blobs. I keep wanting to say blobs of boys, but the boys, the Necron boys.
These might have 1, 2, 3. Because he's with the 3.
So they're counting out 3 and 3 right now, making sure that discrepancies of points remain the same. Again, they are tied up on primary, with each of them only holding 2 last time, and then they hold 3.
1 for holding, 10 for holding 1, 10 for holding 2, and then another 10 for holding 4.
Gotcha.
So again, it should be 40 and 40 on that one. These ones have changed a bit interesting. Again, we'll be going into the top of 3.
No, I guess I do.
Rich again gets to choose what protocol he's going to be using. Here he
I
goes.
get to use my living metal. I get to do 1 additional one back.
So using living metal, he allows his gentleman to auto regen, which is actually pretty frightening because that is straight from lore from any of those that have read any of the Earl Ventures books or any other Necron books, maybe God's Ghost or things like that. They always come back as a living metal. Again, we've been saying it all day. Necrons are tough. They have reanimation. It really kind of throws a wrench in the way you would normally end up having to play your certain army. And as always, again, if you see anything on the table that you would like yourself, you can find it at Miniature Market in the bit.ly link down below. Again, if you could like and subscribe as well, we'd love to bring you more content, not just 40K. Love to do X-Wing, Armada, any other number of Pokemon, Magic the Gathering, D&D nights. All can be found here at Miniature Market, and we'd love to have you see them, not just on the stream, but in actual person. Come play with us, come meet the community. Again, you can use that bit.ly link down below to shop online, or you can come visit us in one of our locations here in St. Louis. We do ship internationally. We look forward to hearing from you in the Discord as well as playing with you any night of the week. Here we've got the Scarabs are kind of moving forward. I think they're going to try and tie up those Inceptors because they aren't pistols. They won't be able to shoot in combat.
So I get CP.
They're just hoping to tie them up and stop that absolute barrage of shooting they can do. And we had talked earlier about whether or not the Inceptors are worth that price hike again. I don't know. Right now in this game, they're doing okay. They've helped clear out almost 2 full squads. Ooh, Rich getting the big old 6 advantage here. Getting close enough to really start hampering that objective. Force Michael to realize, hey, I'm over here. Please do something about me.
Okay, so they now have 1 of their top and it's a 6.
So Rich and Mike just going over the stats on this fine unit pushing this flank here. They are a 2-up save, effectively a 1-up save with the +1 from the shield they get. They also have a 4-up invuln. So we had talked about those assault intercessors earlier. Again, it might be one of those situations where it's like, hey, I'm going to make you roll some dice. Again, that 1 wound bike is going to have to put in some work, maybe tie him up. Who knows? The other bike, though, is set up in the middle, again, with the Eradicators maybe getting multi-charged here, along with the Inceptors, forcing him to tie up both. Now, Ultramarines do have that fun little ability to fall back and shoot if they so desire, so it may not be as bad as we would think, but you never know. Better to tie him up and not have him shoot either way.
Sorry, one second.
I'm gonna go.
As we're sitting here surveying the board, you can see that the castle we had talked about on both sides have stretched out a little bit. This game, so far, has been a clash in the middle based around auras. And we keep saying that. You keep being like, oh, hey, Graham, why do we keep talking about this? Because that is what this game has revolved around. With Gilliman and the mantras going off and trying to get rerolls, and Gilliman's ability to do chapter, not just regular core, has been very beneficial. On top of that, on the Necron side, we've got one or two that allow Rich to have, like we've seen, really kind of keep up with the multi-melted damage that he's taking on this. I'm just more excited to see what happens when those two squads of Necron warriors in the back decide to come out and play. It's a pretty big reserve line.
They'll fire their. They'll both fire their twin autos.
Okay, oh, before we move in phase, he's close to him, I get the
Both cannons, their strength 6. So they'll both fire into that armature squad. I guess they're not a squad anymore.
Rich here allowing for ability when one of his units is close to his big 20 wound model, allows him to heal it almost like a tech marine from below. There's a D3, I believe. He healed him up 1. You know what? That's 1 wound he didn't have before, and we've all been on 1 wound in a prayer. And now that those blade guard on that side closest to you all, you'll notice that they are eligible to be shot because they are not engaged. So it goes back to our conversation previously had we had talked about how he was going to stay there, whether he was going to move in and be able to be hit by that lord by being in engagement range, or with the warriors getting closer. So now he's going to have to weather probably a number of shots on that -4, or on that 4 up invul.
Strength 6 to your toughness 7 to 5.
Rich electing to shoot the Inceptors. They have been a pretty big damage dealer. They move very fast, and the the T5 will be interesting to shoot against. And Mike does have a strat allows if it's going to be a 1 damage, he gives them +1 to save, meaning they effectively would have a 2 up without any AP. Here come the shots in. These are the blade guard vets first. My apologies.
I was worried. I was like, do I transhuman them or do I transhuman them? And I was like, I'll let them survive with the 4 up. Okay.
So unfortunately, only 1 going through here. 4 up invul.
Well, it was a 5.
Nice. Okay, these guys are gonna shoot into that. So
Are they strength 5 weapons?
no, they're strength 4.
4. Okay, so transhuman.
Yes, these are strength 5, so those guys are 4s. These are the same as those, 5 minus 2 1.
And those are 1 shot.
2 shots.
So here's that squad we've been eyeing up in the back line this entire game. With finally coming into play here, being within that very limited 12-inch range. So here comes a transhuman out early. Now we were wondering if he was going to save that for the Inceptors, trying to double down on keeping them alive, keeping their points up. Now this Blade Guard veterans, though, in the center that have been there for the entire game, right there in with their brother Blade Guard vets, are going to try and see if they're just viable and holding the center.
Sorry, I was doing the thing you were counting and I'll do the high-leg rotary cannon. On this one, it's 2, strength 6.
Bunch of 1s.
If Rich can get these guys ripped out of here, this would be big, because it would then force, again, like we had said on this left side, where he was able to advance his gentleman with the basically 1-up save and 4-up invul in. It would force Mike to spread out, maybe get out of that castle, and force him to move into position. He's kind of been able to sit back and take some shots right now, and just it's kind of been working for him, but we can hope that for Rich, either the things will literally blow his way,
At -2.
or he's going to be able to take out these blade guards. At -2, it's going to be a 4-up either way, whether that's invuln or base save.
Ooh, that was really bad. Yep. They saved 3. And that kills 1.5. Cool.
So he ends up failing 4. They are 1 damage apiece. So not Vanguard vets, Blade Guard vets are notoriously 3 wound non-Gravis models.
Okay.
So we are down to both Blade Guard veterans down to 2 men per squad instead of their starting 3 with both sergeants still alive.
7.
And I am going to go ahead and shoot this guy. This guy?
Again, these guys are just going to take a pummeling while they're sitting there in the center, just trying to get them through. It'll be interesting to see if the 1 wound bike is going to be targeted. He's just trying to get that chip off, get those multi-melted shots put away.
Transhuman's still active on him, so it'll still be 4. 2 more. 2 more. Okay.
I think I might have shotgun.
Minus 3.
3. Okay, 4 up invul.
So we got 2 going through for a 4-up invuln at minus 3.
I'm not going to spend a CP.
Pass 1 fail. Finish 1.
So that's another Blade Guard down. So we are down to 3 Blade Guards left. A squad of 1 and a squad of 2 in the center. Rich is taking a dent. He's taking that center back. Be a Necron's late swing in the top of turn 3. For those of you who haven't been here with us the entire time, it is the top of turn 3 for the Narrative/Fluff League here at Miniature Market. Again, if you see anything you like on this table, you can find it at the bit.ly link in the description. We have 2 stores, 1 in Manchester, 1 in Cave Springs. We would love to see you. We play anything and everything: Crisis Protocol, Legion, Armada, X-Wing, 40k, Sigmar, anything in between, D&D, MTG, whatever you want, we have it. Don't believe me? Check out that bit.ly link down below. We'd love if you could like and subscribe. We have great commentators like myself, John from last week, and Chandler. Try and rotate it up a bit and figure out who wants to do what, who can talk with you, and all this fun stuff. We appreciate you coming along with us on some of the growing pains. Again, I'd also like to thank Miniature Market for this wonderful opportunity to broadcast this game, as well as the staff here at Miniature Market, both Tom and Ty doing the best work they can from behind, and we appreciate them.
And they still survive. Nice. All right, this guy's going to shoot.
Back to the tabletop, we've got the bike going to be taking shots here from the big old scarab just to see if he can get rid of it. It needs 1 wound gone off of this. It has no invuln, so if you can get the AP high enough, he might be able to get it off. This was another spot he might have been able to save transhuman for. That's a lie. Transhuman cannot be used on vehicles. Even though it is bike. Chat, correct me if I'm wrong on that one. I've never actually had to transhuman a bike. I don't believe you can. Please correct me.
Sorry, who was this? T5 support.
Not a 1. Not a 1. Okay.
The bike lives here on 1 wound.
Well, that doesn't do me any good. I think everybody is shot who can shoot.
Now the magnet rails.
Moving on to charges.
Lots of teams.
No, this one's been searched. This one's been searched.
It's going to be an interesting decision here because we've got 2 Gravis units he could maybe try and tie up, just force him to use that fallback and shoot.
Can this guy charge around the guy, or does he have to go through him and he can't do that?
We can say he can go this way.
Okay.
It's fine.
All right, he's going to charge
Good.
him, and then he charge them.
Did they advance?
No.
Okay.
What we do is when we get to our final room, we're going to flip these cards.
Okay.
So what was it?
That's all the shooting within range.
That's definitely it. Yeah, I think one of it.
Out one charges.
Cool.
Okay.
So good bit of sportsmanship here, obviously, especially when you're playing bigger models and things like that. It's sometimes hard to get through the terrain. I know there's been many a time we've just taken like a super heavy and tilted it on its side, said it could fit through just for the fun of the game and keep it going. But again, that's one of the good things about this Narrative/Fluff League. Everybody is being okay with doing what they need to do. And here Rich makes a charge with these very, very scary melee unit over on the left-hand side, go right into these assault intercessors. Again, we said they have basically a 1-up save with their shields. They have a 2-up save, +1 to a save from using the shield, and a 4-up invuln. So the only thing that's really going to scare them in that fight is going to be that Thunderhammer from the Sergeant. Although this might be another instance like we talked about with the Gladiator, where it's like, here, I'm going to make you roll these.
Go ahead and do those.
Rich picking the fun fight
You don't put
first.
down on 72 CP. I'm gonna interrupt there.
So Rich is elected to try and beat stick these assault intercessors instead of choosing his other charge first. And Michael was talking about using 2 CP to interrupt jokingly because he didn't. If the other fight had been chosen, excuse me, the other charge had been chosen first, he would have interrupted over here because he knew he would have had a better time, a better opportunity to inflict damage against this melee unit on this side instead of that big hulking 20 wound monster.
It is. It's very good. It's only one.
And again, going ahead for the transhuman. And transhuman is another one of those, is a stratagem that you don't see a lot of Space Marine players running 10-man squads very often. And that's because if they're going to run a 10-man Primaris squad of any sort, that stratagem now jumps up to 2 CP. So if you have 6 or more, it turns into a 2 CP strat instead of a fabulous 1 CP strat like you've been seeing used almost every phase, both shooting and fighting for the last 3 turns.
So they're at 6 up.
So we've
if
got
I don't get a
5
single
6-up saves here.
dead.
This is
Or
the
are they 2 damage apiece? Okay, they'll survive. 6 saves. Nope. Oh, saved 1. Okay, so 2 or 4 go through, so 2 guys decay.
so only 1 damage apiece on these, but the -3 AP really forcing them to the 6s, which is everybody's favorite number.
Okay.
No, not for that one guy.
So then now the next charge will fight with the 20 wound monster into the Blade Guard. That lone Blade Guard didn't know what he did.
He only gets 3 attacks. That's all of them? And it is straight 7.
Cool, so 3s. Just
1 at I'm gonna do 1 CP reroll just
He elects to use a CP reroll there. Does not swing his way on that one, unfortunately.
at -2.
-2. Okay, so
But he's still
4 up.
forcing him for a 4-up.
Okay, he goes down.
And that kills the last Blade Guard, but that with only 1 wound, but the 3 damage on the swing, as we had talked, multiple weapon profiles previously. Moves towards the closest unit.
That's the only one that actually matters. Yep, that's just Sergeant. Okay, hits on 3s. And wounds on 5s.
Here comes the return swing
Nope, nothing.
for the Blade Guard into the Scorpic Lord, and the Scorpic Lord will fight back as the attacker. Although now that the Blade Guard veteran has been engaged and not charged or has been charged, he doesn't get that +1 attack. Which you might not think as much, but when your base attack is 3, getting that extra 1 is very beneficial.
All right, 32.
2s and 3s.
And I reroll 1. There we go.
Rich here trying to get rid of this last Blade Guard has been in the center. If he will be able to, that would mean both Blade Guard veterans, both tough units, be gone in the same turn. He spent 3 turns trying to get rid of him. I would think that this is the time that he will finally accomplish that and then be able to push forth and get the things that are actually shooting him.
Any AP?
Just kind of
Fails.
excited to see what these Scarabs are going to do.
And they're how much damage? 3 damage.
As close as they are getting towards Gilliman, you almost wonder if his hidden agenda might have been assassinate.
So they get to fight back over there.
Become the Assault Intercessors on the fight back. This should be chain swords and 1 Thunderhammer from the Sergeant. The Sergeant will then also take that minus penalty for using a Thunderhammer, meaning he will be hitting on 4s. These guys, though, as we had said previously, are a little spicy with their basically 1-up save and a 4-up invuln.
There are 3 wounds.
Again, while we are getting the attacks all sorted out by number and how many of which type, we would also like to say if you see anything that you like, you can find at the bit.ly link down below at Miniature Market Online. If not, we'd love to see you at Cave Springs or Manchester.
5 only wounding on 5.
5s for the chainswords, hitting against 3 of them.
-1.
Chainswords, famously -1, but the +1 to attack is very nice. Assault Intercessor is best used to get rid of some light chaff, maybe some guardsmen, some warriors, things like that. Not so much this big heavy hitting unit.
Okay, so
One goes through.
Because the void armor minuses up by 1.
okay, and the Thunder Hammer, he's hitting on 4s.
Here comes the Thunderhammer on 4s, all of them. Good conversion here. That's going to be hard though. It's a -2 flat 3 damage weapon. He needs to hit on 2s.
-2 AP.
Or on 3s, my fault. They are T5, I believe.
Got it. Cool. Cool. So
Makes-
nothing over there.
Makes the save. So that unit will then be tied up.
Yeah, it looks like that's. So I can do.
Rich, are those guys OPSEC? No? Gotcha. So right there, I just had asked Rich if this unit that had made the objective charge on this side was OPSEC. So units that have the OPSEC ability, it means that they can take it from units that do not have the OPSEC ability. Troops famously are OPSEC. So the Assault Intercessors, if they had also, the Necron unit had also been OPSEC, it would have been done by how many models, or model count on that one, and the Assault Intercessors would have lost it. Now that because the other unit is not an OPSEC, it means that even though with less models, Michael still holds that side objective. And now Michael is wondering what he has to do to keep this center where it's at.
Cool. Goes off.
Mantra's going off for the +2 charge again for the aura. This center side is looking a little bit thin. Necrons are kind of getting ready to push through. They've got some heavy wound models coming straight for them. We do love some Hero Hammer. Looks like we might have a little bit of that coming up. Now the Warriors in the back are going to be, I'm assuming, going to be coming out of here trying to get some more of those shots in. They really dished out the damage when Blade Guards got close. Again, very nice. The bikes do not bracket. So, for those of you who are new and don't know what bracketing is, I'll give you a quick rundown as the floor dice goes flying by my foot. Yep. Sorry, going back to bracketing, there is, for vehicles and sometimes constructs and even some of the other models, there is a top bracket. So a Redemptor Dreadnought is 13 wounds at its top bracket. So once you get those wounds down to a certain point, so you get them down to the second tier, that means that they've got -1 attack profile, they get an extra damage, they have an extra ballistic on top of their ballistic skill, so they go from hitting on 3s to hitting on 4s and etc. So now that he's down to 1 wound on this bike, it's nice that it doesn't bracket, even though it's quote unquote a vehicle, even though the keyword is biker.
Oh, actually, it is. Nope. Okay. So then.
Moving the Gladiator, the interesting Vitrix Guards still have the back objective. Doing what they do, I guess. Guarding in the corner. Just like they've been doing for 10,000 years.
They are still the closest eligible target.
Now the Gilliman's awake, they don't know what to do with themselves. They're mostly homebodies. It'll be interesting when it goes on this Gravis kind of section with the incursors being able to move so much. As the Inceptors have the distance to go where they need to. They can really get put in with those plasmas. Also, the Eradicators are still sitting over there. I was really surprised to see that the Inceptors weren't charged by the Scarabs, but I wonder if Rich doesn't have something sneaky up his sleeve with them.
Goes down to 1.
Again, a lot of the pre-movement, a lot of the pre-measuring, as we had talked about, trying to figure out ranges of people and their weapons. as we all sit here and we're trying to figure out what's going on. Oh, here comes our first move. Looks like Mike's gonna fall back. Michael's gonna fall back. He's gonna.
I don't think I'm probably going to spend the CP for them charge, but they can fall back and shoot. That's it. 6 left.
So Michael explaining here, just the Ultramarines, one of their good chapter traits is that they can fall back and shoot, and for CP they can fall back and charge. So he's just going to have these guys fall back. My guess would be have them shoot. They do have a plasma pistol, so they might be able to sneak a wound or 2 off, but it would also allow them to be opened up. That Gladiator now has LOS of them, line of sight, LOS. Those of you that are gamers, I apologize for the quick little acronyms there, but we also use it here in Warhammer, so as long as they have LOS, they will be able to shot, as long as they're not in ruins or obscuring. But he's going to be another one of those instances where if he puts the Gladiator Reaper into that unit, it's going to be one of those, if you have a 2-up save, congratulations, here's 40 dice. And we've talked about before, but going back to the era of Armor of Contempt, there was a lot of that going on because of the +1 to the saves, or -1 of the AP that you were seeing. Going from our top down, you'll see a lot of the measuring that's going on. Again, these Inceptors will be interesting to see where they can go because they do have the fly keyword, so they are able to kind of go wherever they want to.
You're a vehicle, right? All right. Normally, things would make you -1 heavy combat.
Which allows them to kind of pass over models without having to deal with that engagement range, which is very nice.
I mean, you can shoot the Sagittars.
Michael brings up a good point here. Necrons have so many more units in general, and they bring to the table than a Space Marine, which would be considered an elite army. And now he's just trying to figure out where he can put his shots to do the most effect, where he can body block, things like that. Like he had said, not enough units. When I say an elite army versus a horde army, now an elite army has a lot of high value units. They're normally a little bit tougher. They do the work that they need to for the army in question. And now horde is the exact opposite. You're looking at your orcs, your necron, your guard, etc. And you can throw 10-man squads down. They might be cheaper, but you're going to clog the board with bodies. There was actually a pretty funny strat with PO Guard for a little bit where it was 300 conscripts, which, and if anybody here has played any sort of horde army before, you know that shooting just through 300 of anything is not a lot of fun. Maybe it is fun. You're rolling a lot of dice, but it's a lot of bodies to get through no matter what army you're shooting into it. I believe that was supposed to be a very funny army to play, and I guess the gentleman that took it to a tournament actually did very well with it. Oh, it looks like Lord Guilliman's coming out. Might have a thing or two to say to the swarms.
They're 2 each. I think it was the same one for retro. Yeah, so. I'll just
Movement phase done.
no, he's
Go into our shooting. Be interesting to see where this gladiator goes. I bet you the iron in my left hand that both those bikes are going to go into the big boys in the center. There we go. Reapers are going right into that over there. Another one of those instances of we're going to make it roll. We've been saying it all night.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to be rolling 2-ups on almost everything, so.
I got Michael reiterating with Rich about making sure he's going to be rolling 2-ups, but he's going to make him roll 40 of them.
I think you have 2-up on
It'd be very interesting to see what this Lord Guilliman does, because if he doesn't shoot these off of the board, the swarms in front of him, it'll be interesting to see if he charges them, because then it means he would then be closer to the models if he for a counter charge, but at the same time he would be untargetable. So -1, so it goes down to 2.
Cool, okay.
Then here come the big gun into all of the punishing Gatling guns into the that unit like we had talked about. We had 2-up save all around, but yeah, when you Rich over here, not sure who was disliked more, these guys or the gentleman that ate the Eradicator in the beginning. Rich came bearing coffee and donuts, and Michael said no thank you.
Threes.
Here comes that initial big roll from the Reaper. Again, as you can see, Michael's so nicely pointing out with all of his dice. If you have anything that you hear that you would like yourself, use that bit.ly link down in the description for Miniature Market. We have a spot in Cave Springs as well as Manchester. We would love to see it. We've got 40Ks in your thing. We've got a million other things, including X-Wing, Armada, D&D, Magic, Pokemon, all of the above. We can come in, say hello. We normally play at least one of those games every week, and check the schedule online. Again, we would love to see you. We'd love to see you here too, so all those of you in chat, we really appreciate you being here. We'd love to have you like, subscribe, share with your friends. Any and all the above would be really helpful. Now let's get back to the thing we're all here for, rolling some dice.
Because right, they have a 2-up save and they ignore first AP. Just one goes through.
Looks like.
That's about what I expected.
So Rich has only dropped one, so he has one guy on one wound.
Thank you.
Oh, okay. I thought you were counting.
So wait till we're done with all the
So, again, reiterating some of the Necron rules. Once a unit has shot, once everything's been shot into one unit and there's no more shooting from the model that's shooting it, you then re-roll the animation protocols, which is why the Eradicators had to have their shooting split up with total obliteration, because they shoot, technically stop, and then start shooting again. Whereas over here, the tank is just putting everything it can into that unit. So far, it's killed one. It's done 1 damage.
These ones are AP2, so I think you have a 3-up against that.
So we have the 3-up save.
So no.
Rich has been saving up his saves for this one. Now he's rolling for the reanimation. It does not come back.
It really does.
One more one.
I said I don't want to go back over there.
And we're going to
Okay, we'll do these 3 Eradicators. We'll shoot to that. Okay, yeah, they're going to double shoot.
They come the Eradicators with the double shooting. So again, these are the heavy meltas. So on 3s, because of the Ultramarines' ability to not incur the heavy penalty.
4s because I'm re-rolling those with it.
So on 4s here.
1, 2.
So it's going to be 4.
So yeah, 4 at AP 4.
4 minus 4, which is going to be quite a minimum of 3 damage per shot that goes through, because it's d6 plus 2, minimum of 1 roll on the d6 damage dice.
Yep.
So 3 go through, so it's a minimum of 9
6
damage.
plus 2. No, who loses here? Okay, so it kills them no matter what. Because it's.
So Michael there rolling pretty well, rolling 10 damage. So 2 5s will do it. Didn't even roll a 3rd. Now it comes down to this corner we had been talking about most of the game. The multi-multi is not going to be put into that last big scarab right there. It's going to be used against this infantry unit. The volume of shots didn't do it, so he's going to try and hit it with equality instead. Multi-melta.
Or 1 wound. So 1 wound on your invuln.
So 1 on invuln is what it's going to be, at 1 at minus 4. And Rich.
Okay, so that does. It kills them because it's minimum 3 damage. And then I still got a couple. I've got some bolter shots coming from him. I'll do that.
So that's 1 dead on a flat, just 3 damage, and then he's going to be using the rest of the weapons on the bike, so we can then go on to the reanimation protocol, which is something, again, we've talked about. Hate to beat a dead horse, but
1 more damage.
it's the only way to remember the rules.
Kills 1, 1's down to 1.
And again, if any or all of these rules are confusing, just like all of us had it when we started out, more than willing to help out anybody that wants to come play, learn, and watch. We'd take it here at Miniature Market. We also have a Discord with about 70 or 80 Warhammer players on it. We have a number of gentlemen here, gentlemen and ladies that are willing to teach and help out. Now, one of them is an orc player. Just get ready to get crumped. No, he's a great guy. He's one that taught me how to play as well. Right now, we've got every table in here full up of games, including 80% of that being Warhammer for tonight's league. The fun and fluff, we don't know what's going to happen in any of these silly, wonky games, but we look forward to having them brought to you.
Lit fire. They're both gonna overcharge. Two of them are going to shoot this way, one of them's going to shoot that way.
So we're going here with the overcharged Inceptors again.
Overcharging, so damage.
My man Michael over here like to live dangerously, even with the reroll of ones nearby.
He has.
So,
Knock shots.
Wow.
so 3 and 3, so that means he's got max shots in these, even without blast. Ooh, a couple of ones there. He now has a chance to reroll. These are ones into ones.
What's okay? 4 hits there. The second guy shooting that way.
So another one. We've got 4 shots, a pretty good average. Again, we have talked about the blast rules with these gentlemen. So because they are D3, if it has unit has more than 5 models, has 6 models or more, then you would get the total blast. So it would be a full 3 instead of just a D3, which means 6 shots per person. Now you saw him pull an Inceptor. It's because he did end up pulling a 1 on the Inceptor, and that's why he has also been breaking up his shots. So he didn't want to do it all at once. So if one player or one model had more than one rolled, it would just blow him up doubly, you know, instead of having to take out the squad, which is why you saw him rolling those individually. There's also a good tidbit to do with almost any plasma weapon like that, especially if you're going to overcharge.
We go through.
You're 2 damage apiece, so that'll kill him.
So Rich here decided he's going to CP reroll just to try and save one of the models. I believe he had failed the perfect amount, and he saves it.
So I need those 2 I got it on the red beacon. Okay.
And then the one guy shooting.
So Rich's CP coming in kind of clutch right there, just making sure that 1 stays alive on that point, even though he will not hold it because that other unit is OPSEC. The Assault Intercessor is the troop choice, as we had talked about previously. He will then still contest it, need be, if those units get shot more, or he can turn around and charge them in the next phase, in the next turn. Here comes the rest of the shooting before he does his reanimation, though. Reanimation. There is no reanimation, unfortunately, on that unit.
Okay, well,
Okay, he's still. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, he's gonna.
It goes off on the flat.
I went 10 for the first turn.
Okay.
No, as we're sitting here waiting to find out.
Gonna try to shoot that.
Michael would like to do. He's gotten some high damage still he needs to do to this vehicle in the center. He's also got the Scorpex Lord in the center. He's got those 2 units of Necron Warriors in the back to deal with. And just like Rich still has the Gladiator Reaper to take care of as well as Guilliman. And the 2 sets of Gravis in the center, which is no joke. Victus Guard have been sitting in the back objective the entire game. And while each player still does hold 3, we're starting to get some objectives that are going to be contested here within the next 2.
Bolter shots. 3s, hit, and then 5s to win. 2 wounds at -1.
This guy?
Yep.
They were tough at 6 today.
So Rich on 5s.
So just 1 damage.
Takes 2 damage to his model here in the center.
Okay, cool.
Just some blink damage.
So that's pretty much all my shooting. So we'll go into charge. We'll charge. Let's see how that goes.
Gilliman looked like he's going to be saving his shooting just to swish, swish, stab. Thunderhammer and other assault intercessors are getting back into this fight. He did decide to spend the CP to charge him down. He felt comfortable after getting it only down to 1 model there. That is still basically like fighting a Terminator with the saves going on there.
5 inches.
Comes Lord Gulliman coming around on the backside of the Scarabs instead of just taking the direct charge.
So I'll fight over here first.
It's actually interesting to move Gilliman like that. I'm wondering if he's going to try and slingshot him the 3 inches towards the score picks, or towards the objective, just kind of slingshot and hero hammer him into there. One thing he does have to worry about is, even though Gulliman does have that big aura, he's going to start having to worry about moving outside of it here soon.
Wounding.
Yep, so they each get 1.
So we get a chain sword. This will be the chain swords over here on the side.
The lieutenant has a thunderhammer, so hitting on 4s.
So here's a sergeant with a thunderhammer.
And wounding. 2 wounds at -2.
2 at -2. It's going to go to a 4 up.
So it'll kill him. 2 damage.
I play way too aggressive.
So by failing the Thunderhammer, that last model is taken off that objective.
My turn. Okay, so now they're going
Here again, they're talking about whether or not they want to interrupt with the Gulliman and the Scarabs. We talked about the interrupt before. It's a 2 CP stratagem that allows someone to interrupt the fighting going on with the charge. So charges are always rectified first. It allows you, after the first one is chosen, to interrupt that fight. So if you have something that you think it can either kill or be survived, that's how to get that done. And that way, that just leaves a player with a little bit of defensibility if they desire it when they are being charged, even though there is Overwatch and stratagems for that. Speaking of Overwatch, the Ultramarines have a really cool stratagem that when they Overwatch, it allows 3 units within a certain area to also include fire into that Overwatch. So if you charge something silly and that Gladiator Reaper is not the charge target, but within a certain amount of distance, it'll allow you to add that weight of fire.
The guy with the 1 wound. I roll D6. On a 2-5, the enemy suffers D3 mortal wounds. On a 6, you suffer 3 mortal wounds.
Okay.
So here's a stratagem that allows he's going to be trying to use to deal mortals to Gilliman here.
So in my command phase,
That's awful.
both of them are line of sight in my calls. So they both get
So he needed anything but a 1. So he needed a 2 to 5 there to do D3 and a 6 to do 6 mortals.
So it's like, I always get burned by
It's all right. Everybody has those days. And quote our Lord and Savior Hannah Montana. Everybody has those days, especially with their
So he's
dice.
going to attack the other one. Hits on
Again,
2.
if you see anything here, including that fabulous dice tray with our logo, we would love to see it here at Miniature Market. You can find anything you would like online at the bit.ly link down in the description. Come like and subscribe. We'd love to see you. There's also a Discord, which we have about 60 or 70 Warhammer players in. Again, this is our Fluff and Narrative League. We would love to see you. Check out us online at the bit.ly link below. Like and subscribe for more content. We'll bring you so many more things. We've got Armada, Legion, Crisis Protocol, a bunch of other games, D&D on Monday nights. We'd love to see you. Check the online schedule. If any of those interest you, you can come on by, talk to people, hang out, learn to play games, anything you want. Tables are able to be reserved by calling the store, and they do not cost anything to rent. Now, if there are events going on, they obviously will supersede some of those reservations, and they will not allow you to. But you can come and play and do whatever you would like. We'd love to see you here.
These are minus up.
He's dead.
Yeah.
Gilliman here taking a nice little swish swish stab, getting rid of those swarms. Now he will move his consolidation towards the nearest enemy, 3 inches. My guess is he will be trying to go towards the objective unless he wants to hero hammer a little bit and try and get that Scarab Lord.
He'll just stay where he's at.
No, he's going to choose the Ultramarine special. I'm going to stand there and not do anything.
He did die. Yeah.
The stubborn doesn't.
Okay.
Moving on to morale, there is no morale to do. Going into turn 4. Here we go with those fickle objectives, fickle to the winds of fate.
Oh, it doesn't move. It doesn't roll the same thing.
Okay.
So,
There we go.
not the worst thing that could have happened here with them both getting the same number, allowing them to not have to move anymore.
It's a 6, so I will spend on CP. Okay, goes off.
Could be interesting here. Now, Necrons do have 2 big units in the center, and they still do have those blobs in the center. Again, those guns back there are strength 5 with a lot of T4 bodies, maxing out at about T5 unless you're shooting at bikes or the vehicle. So it will be interesting to see how this goes from here. Everything is starting to get within enough range. Again, this might be another weight of fire here on Gilliman. Might be a hey, roll these. We'll have to see.
Wow. Very interesting.
I know we've talked about it a handful of times already, but both Rich and Michael have some beautifully painted armies. And we had talked earlier that Michael had started out in the hobby as a painter, actually. Really liked the lore, liked everything else about it, and you can tell it in his armies. He has those custom bikes done up as his quote-unquote ATVs with the multi-meltas. His Gilliman looks very nice. The gold is not always the easiest to do, as I'm trying to make eye contact with our Custodes player who had to paint a mountain of gold recently. And Rich has done a beautiful purple on his. The bases are phenomenal. They catch your eye from anywhere in the room. He's also taken the time to detail everything in that very nice green. And here we go. Here comes the Hero Hammer, kind of embalming what this leak is about. He's going to charge him up with a Scorpic Lord. Oh, he might be taking the double charge on him too. Living Metal, allowing him to go back up in wounds.
Hits.
I'm pretty sure Cass won.
Strength 9. The ones on here, 7.
So with the terrain in the center, they're just going over again. The reason why you haven't seen them shoot straight across it is because it is obscured, which means you cannot see through it. It's infinitely tall, except for Titanic, so you just can't see through it or shoot through it. Now, if you touch into it, you can shoot whatever inside of it. You cannot shoot out of it. It's very interesting, very fun. Terrain rules are one of the nittiest grittiest and most argued about items within Warhammer. And now Rich is going to talk to us about this protocol for this section.
Look, 18 attacks. Four is they reroll everything you can. 2 auto
We're going to do the one of them, but we'll make it the eligible to shoot if falls back, just in case.
So here we get to see that word squad we've been talking about all day. Coming out with those big strength 5 guns. Again, you might not think that one more strength on a weapon does a lot of damage, but when it's one more than the average armor of your entire army, it does what you hope it won't.
Yes, we got.
I guess because
So one of the good things again about this turn is that with the whimsical winds of fate, the objectives did not move, so they were able to stick around on them. That Victrix Guard doing what it's done for a millennium, standing there and guarding it.
fired his gun into
That's
the same
there,
one
that's
it's firing
there.
into.
Gilliman here looks like it might be a little bit of hero here in time. It'll be interesting to see with this movement out of the back line. Again, as long as they each hold the same amount of objectives, the game is going to be stalemated on points, probably coming down to hidden agendas and who can wither the most fire for the next 2 turns. Again, this is going to turn 4. Top of turn 4. So we've only got 2 rounds left. Between the durability of some Gravis and Transhuman, as well as the reanimation done for Necrons, this is going to be down to the wire.
They get +1 because they're next to the call and
The last hurrah.
so hitting on 2s.
All right.
Rerolling the 1.
Rapid fire 4.
3 out of
This first.
Gillian looks like he's going to be taking a couple of shots first.
Fun here.
4 at -1.
From that unit on the far side that had the insane bravery done on them 2 turns ago. Plasma Inceptor's got a hold of him.
On toughness.
Lord Gilliman coming in. T6, same toughness as a speeder. So your Lord Regen is the same toughness.
1. -2.
1 going through -2. He's got 2 up save, I believe. 3 up invuln.
Okay.
Saves it either way.
-2.
So 2d3.
It's D6 damage.
6 shots.
Chat, as we're sitting here watching the shooting going on here, I want you to know, what are you most excited for about this stream? Are you excited to see the different kinds of armies? Are you excited to see good games? Are you excited to see yourself if you're going to be playing on it? What is the best thing you think so far about having the stream around?
2, 3.
We look forward to hearing your answers, and I'm sure they'll swing them on over to me here in a little bit.
Still 3 up invuln.
We got Gilliman going back to 3 up invuln while we've been away.
Yep. Fail 1.
1 damage.
Gilliman takes a 1.
So it's -2. Just 1.
32 shots.
I have them actually see. Because I think probably like maybe these 5 probably can't.
I'm going to spend 2 CP to do my subterranean explosions.
No, it says light cover for that.
Oh, sure.
So now all your attack rolls are subtracted by 1. And you fight last.
He can't blame anyone for himself.
And it's not Titanic.
Again, we had also said that the terrain rules is one of the hardest things to learn in 40k. And what they were talking about light cover is it's like ruins, and it's on top of ruins and things like that. Light cover gives +1 to a save if you are touched into it, allows you to shoot in and out of it. Now, obscuring, like we had talked, is infinitely tall except it's Titanic. It doesn't allow you to shoot through it or out of it, but you can toe into it. Like when I say toe in, it means take your model's little Tootsie Wootsies and put them right up against that wall there. That's what we mean by toe in. And if it's a Necron or something else, you can Talon in, Chaos, and Bleed in, whatever you need to do.
That was the 6 we can count it.
All right, cool.
I detonated 1, he just blew up the other 2.
So they were just reiterating in the center that those warriors there could in fact shoot Gilliman because it was not obscuring, it was, they just called it light cover.
8, 10, 11. At -2.
Three up invuln.
I'm going to charge.
All the saves on 3 up. Drops 1 down to another wound.
I got it.
Gilman's gonna be taking the brunt of this one.
6 shots.
Oh, wait, no, you went on four.
Actually, 12 shots.
Be interesting to see how much this is gonna chip off.
4s.
And like Rich had said previously, a moral victory. We're getting the wounds off. You know, when you see a big hero like Gilman staring you down across the field, you just kind of want to swish, swish, dad. Not only is he a beacon for the Imperium, he's a beacon for Please Shoot Me.
1, 2, 3, 4.
And then he will charge.
4 shots on 3s.
He makes sense. Okay, so 3 up here.
Okay,
Drop 1 more.
so he's got a special thing when he charges.
We got some more damage going through on that 3 up invuln.
How many wounds is that?
Chad, I know you're probably tired of me saying it, but I'm not tired of you yet. If you see anything on here that you like, miniature market, you can check out the bit.ly link down below. If you can find anything you would like. We ship internationally from the St. Louis area. We got 2 stores, one in St. Peter's and one in Manchester. We play many a game every night of the week. There's a different type. We've got Legion, Crisis Protocol, 40K, Sigmar, X-Wing, Armada, D&D on Monday nights. We're on my full house. Again, if you want to come in, hang out, play, we do have some Magic the Gathering, a little bit of Pokemon as well. Come, say hello. Enough board games to feed both your family and, you know what, 4 other families. We'd love to see you. Come hang out. Check out online. We've got our whole schedule on there. Check out for good event days, tournaments, that nature, things like that.
I'm going to attack them first.
Okay. I need 4 on that. I need 6.
5.
5. Okay. How about 2?
2.
2 more on 3s.
3 up invuln. Yeah. Pass 1, fail 1.
All right.
Takes another 2 damage. Filament has taken many a plate damage. This was a,
All right. So
we've been
that's
talking about it all game. One of those, hey, roll this. Might not have the AP, but we'll make it roll it.
boom and boom.
Yep.
Here are the 2 charges. We'll play a little bit of Hero Hammer here.
We'll say that was the close guy.
Huh?
We'll say that was the close guy. He's in.
Double 1s.
Because you're like 3 inches away. Yeah, you're totally in.
Okay, and then that
As we
guy.
talked again, first round we had talked about we would get it within like the engagement range, and you always joke about, oh, I only needed 2. There's a good reason to do it, as we rolled double 1s on the charge,
Okay.
allowing him to walk his way briskly in there.
So I've got the CP. I'm just going to tell you.
You got what?
I've got the CP to interrupt, so I will interrupt.
Yeah.
So definitely hit with your heavier hitter first.
Yeah.
Now for the guy with the powers. Yeah. I hope so.
And can you give him that? I have to hit on 4s thing too? You can't give that.
No, he doesn't have the keyword, unfortunately.
I've had matches like this where it's like
So Gilman, even though with his 3 up invuln, will not be getting transhuman. As Michael was so nice to state out, does not have the keyword.
Go with the 4 attacks then. What the heck? Okay. So we need 3s to hit.
Were you gonna interrupt?
Wow.
It's the timing.
I'm going to reroll one of them. Just because. I want to do something to this guy. Got it. Okay. So strength
6.
8.
T6, so 3's to win. Yep. Cool. 3 goes back. I still have my 3 up invuln, so.
So we got 3 minus 4 going back to the 3 invuln again.
3 up.
This is one of Gilliman's miniatures.
Fail 1. How much damage does this do?
3.
3.
So he's taking a big smack dab
I'll
at
just
3.
take the 3 and then spend it. So it'll be down to 2.
Only 2 wounds left on Gilliman. He's probably going to spend the CP to interrupt here.
And then I'll go ahead and I'll spend 2 CP to interrupt.
I figured they would do that.
I think because I can come back to life for.
So what he's talking about is also Gilliman has a stand-up feature. So when he goes down on a certain number for the roll, I don't know off the top of my head, he will be able to stand back up and closest to his spot he was removed from the table. I believe it's a 3 up.
What's his invuln say? 4 plus?
Yep.
So Scorpic Lord does have that 4 up invuln, so it'd be interesting if he can get through that one. This is Hero Handler at your best. Lord Gilliman facing down 2 of the big Necron constructs.
And what's his toughness? 5, 6.
So I'll use my last CP.
I believe Gilliman does have, I believe it's the Emperor's Blade and then Gauntlet of something fancy.
Okay, I'm gonna hit him with the Hand of Dominion.
Which is just a very Hand of Dominion. There you go.
Strength.
Which is a big boy power
You
fist.
can reroll the hit rolls of 1.
Now he will attack. Okay, so he's gonna attack the guy who hit him.
Cool, so everything hit. So 2 swords. Everything wounded. Okay.
Bummer.
7 on my invuln. It's AP 3.
7.
Yep. And they're 4 damage apiece. So if 2 of them get freezed.
This is Gilliman swang there and got everything. Got a hold of that one. Going all the way back, which is going to be the
Only 1 got through.
1 went through.
home run king here.
So 4
6
damage.
attacks, hitting on 2. He gets to reroll.
All right.
So Rich going through and saving all.
He gets
But
his hand.
and doing more than he should have there, saving.
He gets, yeah, it's not once, just he gets to reroll.
5 attacks.
Gonna make Gilliman work for it here with the 2 wounds. See if he's gonna have to force him to stand up.
Combined to a 7.
4s. 1, 2, 3.
That one's gonna be special.
He only needs 2 wounds to get Gilliman to go down.
8.
Okay, so 3 is.
All 3 of them.
Okay.
Minus 3, but that doesn't matter because you get your.
Yeah.
So strength 11.
Fail 2. Okay, so even if I reroll them, it's still kill him. Okay, so he's dead.
So he goes down. Gilliman is down.
Moral victory.
So at the end of the phase, I roll, and on a 4-up, he comes back to life.
He comes to make 4
Set
up.
him up outside of combat.
Does he come back?
Well, actually, so this happens first, actually. I'm supposed to remove them, and then you can do your pylons if you want to, if you want to move your guys at all. You
D3 plus 3 more.
can just do a 3.
So you're talking
I don't know if it
about
matters.
now that he's removed him because he's technically removed from the board, he can then do his 3-inch pylon towards the closest unit. So that just gives them an extra bit of movement distance, but also forces him to have to place him closest to that spot without being in engagement range.
He does have to move closer to the nearest.
More or less.
Yeah, that's kind of what I figured. I didn't like shoot you out of something if you wanted to push him further. Okay, so on a 4-up, no rerolls or anything. That's what I thought.
So that is
Gilliman does not come back.
4-up, right?
11. It'd be minus 1. So
Okay, so he's gone.
Well, you know what? I hope his secondary, or I hope his hidden objective was assassinate, because that was probably the best character to do it to. That's also a big section of rerolls gone for the Ultramarines, so their efficiency might be diminished just a little bit.
Because all those rerolls aren't happening anymore.
So I'm gonna do the guy with resistance first.
+1 to wound litany,
Plus on the rule mantra from the chaplain.
and then he's going to do a +1 advance and, or +2 to advance and charge. That one doesn't work. It's a 5.
Go ahead. you're right. I'm gonna do my Overwatch real fast.
All right, y'all. If you see anything on the table that you like to own yourself, you can check out.
Nope. Okay, so 2 auto wounds. They're at
If you'd like to see anything like that online, we have it in the bit.ly link down below. Miniature Market. We have a shop here in Manchester as well as Cave Springs. We'd love to see it. We do international out of St. Louis, so if you see it in there, come and grab it. We also do Star Wars X-Wing, Armada, Legion, Crisis Protocol, and a million other board games of any flavor and variety. We also do some Pokemon as well as Magic the Gathering. We'd love to see and talk to you. Now I'm going to let them do their movement phase real fast, and I will be right back.
He rerolls. Oh, yeah.
Right. And he's actually the additional -1. Oh, that's fine.
I've not been able to make that one guy go away.
I know.
One wound left and he just keeps going.
He's gonna hide for the rest of the game. That's definitely what he's doing right now. Stay with his 1 wound and be unshootable.
Try and deny it.
Hold that little objective for me.
Here's 20.
And you can put it on because if I explode, I can actually.
It's only. Oh, actually 3. They're 1 of these.
All right. Cool. I have 2 CP to interrupt, so keep that in mind. He is worthless in combat.
6.
We have 4 attacks, and strength 6, AP 0, 1. So,
Then I'll do the
we
other.
should probably do something because otherwise I will interrupt with the beast and I will try and
-1.
So I will spend 2 CP for and then basically I'm probably going to try and just probably using master. So I would recommend at least starting at that kind he can't really touch it. If I'm lucky, I'll do 8.
Bye-bye Immortals.
Hopefully.
They're strength 6. Oh, you're right.
They've done well hanging in there.
Okay. 10. Yeah.
Okay. The class.
Well, unlike Gilliman, I am back, and we are good to go. Thank you again for coming to Miniature Market, and we really enjoy having you on this stream. We'd also like to give a shout out to both of our players for doing so well and being good sports, also bringing their fabulously painted armies today. I'd also like to thank Tom and Ty, both running crew for this, fabulous TD over there, as well as our camera operator and producer. Thank you guys for making this possible. Here we are again, week 3 into the Fluff and Narrative League. We've got Gilliman's gone down to Hero Hammer. We've got 2 more Necron constructs in the front. We've got a bunch of warriors still going on in the back line. We got a little bit of shooting going here. Chaplin's going in for round 2 of Hero Hammer. He's going to take them on by himself. Vitrix Guard sitting in the corner doing what they want. So we've got these 2 gentlemen left on the objective. They are going to get the benefit of cover. So 1 wound.
I'll spend my final.
One left.
Like I said, we're just going to try and kill your man. I guess
It's really unfortunate trying to get a hold of that objective, as both players, even with as much death and destruction as we've seen on both sides, neither have been given up an objective, so both of them have pulled the max number of objectives the entire game, and never have none of them have pulled more than their opponent either. So this game is going to turn into who can get who off an objective first.
Man, it feels so bad to do it. To do one win, just like the Lich Guard tanked everything. So what's his save normally? It's a 2, 3. Okay, that's a little bit better.
Michael's already talking about feels bad because he doesn't want to put the gladiator into that last guy.
He's going to put the strength 6 shots into them, and he's going to put the strength 4 shots in the missile.
But sometimes, you have to kill it until it's dead. And if that means putting an entire 200-point tank into
So
one
missile
unit,
first,
you might
D3
have to do
shots,
it.
2 shots, hitting on 3s, both hit, strength 7, so wounding on 3s, 1 wound at -1, so 3 up because you're in cover.
Rich making a save on the gentleman's he needs. This blob in the middle we've been talking about for the last couple of turns are going to be interesting coming up. Again, we've been talking about their strength 5 weapons the entire game. There's a picture right now of our old school Gladiator Reaper. As you can tell, it's got the old school paint style on it. Fabulous. Different hull model.
Okay. So these are hitting on 3s and wounding on 3s.
Here come the plethora of shots from the Gladiator Reaper. If you don't know, has 2 of those beautiful punishing cannons on it, as well as sponsons and a stubber on top. All free war gear now after the new Arcs of Omen update.
Let's get those 3s. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 at AP1. So
9 saves here.
3-ups.
See if it does it. I believe he's doing 3-ups.
1, 2, just anything gets through. 2. Cool. Okay, he only has 1 wound, so even if you reroll it, he's still dead. Great. Okay, that's good for me. And then Tempest Bolters. These will be AP2, but they're only strength 4. These ones are going into there. 3s.
Now here comes some more shots into the big squad of warriors here.
These are strength 4 and a T4.
That blob right there is still quite a menace.
Okay, so 5 at AP2.
Oh, I
Make one fail.
can't, because they're forced.
They're AP2. Do they not get 6-ups?
What's that?
They're only AP2. Do you get 6-ups?
These are 4+6. Oh,
you have 6
6. Okay, got you. Yeah. So how many was it? 5?
So now we got 5 shots. Again, they were talking base save of 4th, so they need 6s
All
here.
right, 1 saved.
So that is 1 that just shrugs it and says, why thank you.
Okay. We get to reroll 1.
Nice.
When you come back.
Here comes the reanimation, make sure they're all back. And because they can be placed anywhere, it's free movement for a Necron player.
Okay.
Okay. Well, switch. 3 shot. Okay. Next we'll do 6. We'll do all of the, they're going to double shoot into the character. He should be the closest visible. He's closer than we are. So hitting on 3s,
Comes the rest of shooting.
and wounding on 3s. I start traveling. Okay, so 2 on your invuln.
2 on 4s.
Wow, pumping through.
That'll straight kill them because they're min 5 damage apiece. Okay.
Eradicator's coming through and doing some nasty work.
And then the last roll for me now. Shooting phase is this single one. I can see him. He's going to shoot all of his bullets. So 2 multi-melta shots hitting on 3s. Hit and wounding on 3s.
Multi-meltas coming in. These multi-meltas have been
AP4.
doing the Emperor's work this game. The 2 life and the Eradicators.
So D6 damage for 3 damage. And then Walters, 5s. Okay, 2 more at AP1.
All right, your judgment goes up 1.
One goes through.
Okay, so just 1 more damage. And that's the
Which
end of my shooting.
wounds on the one in the center, although you have to remember that it does regen wounds when the start of his turn.
You think you want to get in?
Cool. Okay. Let's see.
Okay, yeah.
Fought with the chaplain yet.
Fell, I don't know where it went. That's quite the distance.
For command phase ability. No, but you're welcome. The battle card's going to tell the base of continue to hit.
So 5 attacks hitting on 2s.
5 on 2s.
Cool. I'll hit. And then he is strength 5. Are you T6 or T5? T6. Okay. So 5's to wound.
Chaplain trying to be a bash chaplain into this
Absolutely not.
unit.
Cool. So you can smack me back.
He whiffs on all of them. His anger and fury was indomitable. His aim was not.
5 attacks.
You could say it was an Indominus crusade. Comes the swish swish stab now back for a little bit more hero hammer for those of you.
Just 2.
Shot at doing something. Got it. Okay. So that's strength 8.
So 2s.
That's 3 of them at -3.
Okay. So he'll use his. Yeah, he's gonna. So once per game. So it goes away after this phase. After this turn, he gets a 3-up invuln. So he's gonna use that now because otherwise he'll die.
Using the relic here, they give him a 3-up invuln once per game. It is
He saves
a
2 of them.
really
So
nice relic for clutch things like this. So he takes
down to
4 damage here.
That's okay.
Sorry, he takes 2 damage here. That 3-up save really changed him around. So that'll be the end
The
of
last one.
turn 4, start of turn
Now we roll
5.
out, see where these move.
Now we just see, yes, the objectives
This is going to determine it because if these
He is also judged.
will now move. Will's in the wind.
you'll have like a tie or something. They don't move.
Again, they roll the same number, meaning that the winds were okay with it.
That's probably game. Because you hold 2, so you have to get me off an objective, or else I'll score 30.
All right. Yeah, let's just talk it out. Well, we don't have to go through all that.
Yeah. Yeah, so I guess.
So both gentlemen have decided instead of playing
Yeah, so
through
we
the
can follow-
5th round, they're going to just talk it out. They think it'll be a good way just to speed through the round. And again, it shows what both players are about for this game. So Michael's going to tell he's going to move his fast stuff up the board as fast, obviously as far as he can, to try and get some objectives. Because remember, he only needs to.
You'll score 20 on this turn. You'll probably kill him.
He only needs to get on 1 more objective to hold more than Mike, or more than Rich.
Should have brought the stage.
I swear to God, I would have put
I'll win by exactly 10 points.
I'm sure. That's why I went.
So the game comes down to 10-point difference in the bottom of the turn 5. So close game, good handshake by the players.
It was one of those ones where, like, once Gilliman was gone,
Now you're talking about, little key points in the game, such as Gilliman being gone. That was a different.
so many dicey rolls.
No more aura buffs from him, as he is a big old aura guy from many chapters. You can actually run him as whatever chapter you want as a supreme attachment. He just doesn't give all the benefits like he does to the Ultramarines. We talked about Inceptors earlier, and the Inceptors, we do believe, did a good job. It's still worth their points. We don't know. The one from Thief's Shake were nice. Over here, the aggressors are the assault intercessors on the side, very beneficial. Holding off that unit there, the fall back and shoot, fall back and charge was very nice to have for Ultramarines. It's one of their big strats. Again, there's this custom model sitting right in front of me. It looks beautiful. Going from the Necrons, the Warriors going forward was going through, going forward. So they're talking about their hidden agendas. Basically, they had to keep a unit alive. So that Warrior squad is the one that he chose for his hidden one, which was to keep alive. So that's a +1 for Rich, and also a +1, I believe, for Michael as well. So looks like both at least get a point for the hidden objective. They both get +1 for being painted. And as always, here at Miniature Market, if you see anything you like, go and visit us in the bit.ly link down below. We'd love to hear from you. Like and subscribe, catch more of our content, see us in the Discord. Again, every night a week's a different game here at Miniature Market. Got us one in Cave Springs, one in Manchester. We play Legion, Armada, Crisis Protocol, Magic, Pokemon, and a bunch of other things. We'd love to hear and see from you. If you're new, don't hesitate coming by. So, at the end of the night, we're getting down. We appreciate your time and your responsibility. And again, they're just talking out what they would do, how they would do it, and things going back through their game. As always, thank you again to our wonderful tech crew, Ty and Thomas. We couldn't do it without them. Thank you to our players, Rich and Michael, for being such good sports, answering my pre-game questions. Thank you guys for that. Thank you for bringing your beautiful painted models. And again, if you see anything you like, bit.ly link in the description. Like and subscribe. I'm Graham Tevis. We will see you again. I'll be here next week as your commentator. Thanks, y'all. Have a great night.
I steal your pen again?